everyone. Hello, everybody. Nina jumped off the couch right when we started, and welcome back to the McDonCast, the funnest podcast in town, the only podcast in town.
That's maybe true?
I think it's definitely true.
Let's double check that.
Except, okay, well, there is another podcast in town, but they're banned on YouTube, so they don't count.
Ooh.
Mr. Steven himself. You know, he's like in...
Who is?
Steven.
Last name starts with an L?
Even last name starts with C, ends with outer.
Oh, that's not in Plano.
Currently
He's
suing
just in Texas.
Everybody. No, he's like in the... When he did his Tesla video, he was like driving around like...
Huh.
I guess I just said where we...
We're gonna have to bleep that.
Oh, well, they'll just look up where Steven Crowder lives. Either way, it's fine.
I'll bleep that.
We live in a big city. It's fine. Okay, anyways.
Oh, there's a podcast about the city we live in. Like, run by the city. That's not a joke.
There's a... it's also that same city that one guy did that
Don't
rap
give them
video.
more information.
They know about the city council guy.
No.
Remember him? The guy who went and sang that song at the city council?
In a town near here? Yeah, they know that.
That was awesome. It was so cool being at like ground zero for that.
Damn, I have a story to tell you about that later. Never mind.
That?
Well, I don't want to do it on camera.
Oh, no, we got to talk about it now. Tell me about the guy.
Okay. No, because then it goes personal.
Okay, never mind. We'll talk about that later. Oh, I need to start this. There we go.
Oh,
go.
Look, everybody. It's Podcast Dog.
Podcast Dog's here. Oh, she's so cute.
Paws in trouble.
Trying to eat my fries. Alrighty.
Getting nose juice everywhere.
I don't have the docket pulled up.
Okay, well, Sam, what we thought was a fairly slow news week.
Nose week. Slow nose week.
Nose weeks are weird. News week turned into a pretty busy one today.
Yeah, literally like today.
3 of our stories come from today.
Yeah, it's kind of nutty.
And then 2 from the other 6 days.
Real wacky wild
during
stuff.
the week.
But
this week we're going to talk about announcements involving Star Wars Visions, Volume 2, Disney and Warner Brothers corporate politics, everyone's favorite.
We love corporate politics.
AMC Theaters is doing a really dumb thing that's probably going to kill their business.
I'm thinking, as a McDonCast policy, we just don't go see movies at AMC until they fix it.
Well, good, because we've seen one. We've seen one movie at AMC.
Sometimes we go there when we're in the mall. That's the only time we ever go there.
We barely ever do. So
yeah. The last movie I saw at an AMC was Venom the Carnage one.
By the way, AMC is just I guess we'll get to it later. We got more information on Justin Roiland's situation.
Just what everyone wanted.
What everyone was hyped for. And then as of like a couple hours ago, there was a Nintendo Direct. So we'll talk about that. And we also saw M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin.
And it was his best movie since the other ones.
Sam's only seen one M. Night Shyamalan movie.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it's not.
Did you see The Beach That Makes You Old?
I didn't see it, but I know what it is.
Anyway.
I've seen Lady in the Water. You seen Lady in the Water?
I did not.
No, I didn't think so.
Anyway, we'll get to it later. But Sam, we'll start off with some light news, some news I know you'll enjoy.
You know what's funny about Lady in the Water? Real quick, quick side tangent.
I love how you can see the chat from the Twitch stream.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. So you know how our dad has that friend that likes the movie?
Yeah.
So me and Nick and Brendan, we were at the Ford's Garage restaurant that's by the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady comes over and she's like, "How's it going, guys?" And we were like, "Oh, we're going to go see this movie after we eat here." And she's like, "Oh, cool. What are you seeing?" And I go, "We're going to see the new M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Knock at the Cabin Door." And she goes, "Oh, I love M. Night Shyamalan." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, he's great. My favorite's Lady in the Water." And then she goes, "That's my favorite too." And I was like, I literally said out loud, "Oh, that was a joke."
Was she being sarcastic?
No, she was for real.
Who is watching Lady in... Why?
I didn't know that there were other people that knew that movie existed.
So how old... not to be rude, but like how old were they?
She was probably
was she like
in her,
young?
She was probably like in her like early 30s.
Was she old enough to have seen it in a theater when it came out?
Yeah, probably.
Okay,
because it came out what, like the early 2000s?
like late.
Yeah,
to late. Like I want to say like 2000.
She probably would have seen it when she was like a teenager.
That's so weird. I mean, he's been making movies for a long time. Honestly,
yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about him a little bit more later, but I have a lot of respect for him just for the fact that he is a writer-director who funds most of his movies himself. Ketchup implosion.
Why?
Oh, there's napkins.
No, there aren't.
Oh, I thought those were napkins. They're right there. You just wiped your face all over the paper
what
bag.
was I supposed to do? It's the same paper.
You know what? Today is my day because now I'm not the person who's done the most embarrassing thing on camera.
Why? What did you do today?
I don't know. Probably just every single episode other than this one. Anyway,
I got beard ketchup. All right. What's happening? M. Night Shyamalan.
Anyway,
I would respect him if any of the projects he funded were like good.
He's made good movies.
He's made 3 good movies, and he's made like 20 movies.
Maybe 4.
You could argue this one was good.
Yeah.
Because this one, like, I didn't hate it. So, like, for an M. Night Shyamalan movie, that's pretty dang good.
Mm-hmm.
There's Sixth Sense.
Yep.
There's Unbreakable.
Uh-huh.
There's Split.
Which some people don't like. Some people don't like Unbreakable. And most of the time when you ask them why, they're like, because it's a superhero movie and it's boring. And I was like, oh, yeah. People forgot what superhero movies were like pre-2008.
Mm-hmm. And those are the only 4. The rest are bad.
What was the last one? Split?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't really name
it. What else do you make? Glass?
Some people like Signs. Signs isn't as bad as a lot of people say it is.
Signs, the one about the aliens who invade Earth?
Yeah.
Without knowing that they are weak to water?
That's the big twist.
You know, the thing that makes 2/3 of Earth.
That's why they leave, like, immediately.
They should not. You can see from space that Earth is almost entirely
Maybe they
made of
know
water.
that they would die when they got to water. Sam.
How do they not know that?
I don't know.
Do they not? How do you not know what elements are in master space travel?
Some people like The Village.
The Village is so dumb.
The Village is like a good idea until the twist, and then the twist.
The Village is a fine idea until you tell I can understand why you would think in your own head this is a good idea, but I don't understand how after telling a single person about that, the other person didn't go, "Wow, that was really dumb."
And that basically, if you look at M. Night's filmography, what happened with him was he was not on a completely critical hot streak, but at least a very good financial hot streak. He had Sixth Sense in 1999, Unbreakable in 2000, Signs in 2002, which people don't like, but that movie was a big hit. He had The Village in 2004, and then after The Village, he had just like a straight 10-year downward slope. Mm-hmm. He had Lady in the Water in 2006. The Happening in 2008, which is his worst movie.
Oh, I love The Happening.
Actually, never mind. In 2010, he had The Last Airbender. That's by far his worst. That's definitely
because that one's actually hard to watch.
I think that might be the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
No, because The Happening is hilariously bad.
Yeah, The Last Airbender is just difficult to sit through, from start to finish.
Just actually boring and terrible.
He had After Earth in 2013,
another awful movie,
and then he revived his career in 2015. He had The Visit. And then he had Split in 2016.
I didn't even realize he made The Visit.
Yeah, if you remember The Visit. A lot of people don't remember how big The Visit was when that came out.
It was really big, but no one remembers it.
No one remembers it.
I remember,
and it didn't make a lot of money, but a lot of people were talking about it.
I remember being in class and people talking about it, but I don't. After about a week, no one ever mentioned it again.
Yeah, it was a big middle school, high school hit for a while, and then Split in 2016, Glass in 2019 was when everyone realized he was actually still not great at making movies all the time.
Doesn't know what he's doing.
And then Old, and then this, and then he has another movie.
Hey, Old was a banger. And didn't he make some movies for Apple?
He has a TV show on Apple.
Yeah.
That I haven't heard anyone talk about, but it's ran for 4 seasons.
Yeah, it's been going on for a while now.
Oh, Rupert Grint's on. Okay. That's why Rupert Grinson is most.
Can we just start with the knock on the cabin door?
No, well,
We've been talking about this for like 10 minutes.
yeah, I guess.
All right, knock on the cabin door was...
Not what the title of the movie is.
That is, knock at the cabin door. That's what the name of the movie
Knock
is.
at the cabin. There's no knock at the
No,
cabin
it's not knock
door.
at the cabin door. That's dumb.
That's a... Why would you call it that?
Because that's the part you knock on.
But that's like way too specific. That sounds like a joke title.
That sounds like a
That would
title
be
of a real thing.
Knock at the cabin door.
I thought it was just called The Cabin for a while.
Well, it's so it's based on a book. We'll go without spoilers for this first
You go
second.
without spoilers.
But it's based on it's his second straight movie that's been based on something else. Because Old was based on like a French graphic novel.
Mm-hmm.
But he heavily changed that.
He changed the whole ending.
I think he wrote that. I think he wrote Old on his own.
Yeah, in his show.
If I remember it correctly. Yeah, that was all him. And then the Knock at the Cabin is based on a book called The Cabin at the End of the World. And the script was actually written by two other writers. Let me see if I can find their names. And then when he came on board, he rewrote it to fit himself as a director better, I guess.
You can tell.
And you can tell.
You can tell when the camera gets real close and the characters start talking about stuff that really doesn't matter.
Steve Desmond and Michael Sherman were his co-writers on this one, which I don't think it might be the first time he's just co-writers.
Hey, I want to be your friend. Do you like bugs? I like bugs.
Yeah,
so... Do you like bugs? I love bugs. Let's talk about bugs for another 10 minutes.
Movie.
Wait, hang on. We need to make this accurate to the way the movie happened. Hang on. Do you like bugs? I love bugs. Bugs are my favorite.
For our audio listeners, Sam picked up the camera, pointed it at his own mouth, and then talked about bugs.
That's because that's how the movie starts.
So this is a movie. Sam, why don't you tell us what it's about without spoiling the entire plot?
So without spoiling it,
other movie.
Without spoiling it, there's this little girl and she's outside. Guess what she's doing? Collecting bugs.
Oh, by golly gee, Sam, does she love collecting bugs?
And she talks about collecting bugs
and we're gonna have
the bugs.
A 10-minute scene to start the film where a girl slowly explains her entire backstory to a random man.
Bug.
Now, okay.
Shyamalan does this in like all his movies. All of his characters have one trait that is their entire personality. Like, you know in The Happening, the guy who just talks about hot dogs the entire movie? And, like, everyone in Lady in the Water, like, the guy who only works out half his body, and that's his only personality trait, and the guy who's a critic, and so that's his entire personality trait. Like, he does this with it. All his characters have one thing, and that's That's it.
The weirdest part about...
Like, the nurse character, and her only personality trait is nurse. Anyway.
So, the movie starts immediately with little girl is in the woods. She's on a vacation with her two dads.
Yes.
She's collecting bugs for, I guess, like a science.
I think she just likes bugs.
I think it's like her dads have given her like homework or something.
No, because her dads know that like she likes to. I think she just likes to collect bugs.
She's collecting bugs, right? And Dave Bautista, whose character's name I think is like Daryl or something. Do you remember what it is?
It was Daddy Andrew and...
No, the Dave Bautista's character.
Oh, that guy's name.
Leonard.
Leonard, yeah.
So, Leonard walks out of the woods, and then he just starts talking to her, and they talk for like...
He's like...
5 minutes.
Hey, little girl.
And I
want to be your friend.
In monotone voices...
You like bugs, little girl?
Explain both of their entire backstories, who they are, what they do, what they like, why they're here. The weirdest part about the scene
is that the whole time you think he's like a creepy dude.
Well, 3. So Shyamalan, he does shot reverse shot essentially for the whole conversation, but to make it interesting, he slowly zooms in more and more
until the camera is like in their nose,
and then tilts the camera at the same time. And I think he was trying to build tension. But it's really just, like, super nauseating and distracting.
No, my friends were, like, laughing. Like, in the seats next to us.
Like, he's, like... we get to a point where he's at a 45-degree angle on, like, a girl's, like, nose. Mm-hmm. Like, a little... it just gets really awkward and uncomfortable.
Like, he's shoving the camera up this, like, 10-year-old girl's nose. And you're like, what? I don't need to count her nose hairs. Please
in the opening scene, she's very, like...
She's very mature. Like,
she's
very
adult.
Like
she, like, understands... a lot of like more adult concepts.
Yeah, like she's talking about,
even though she's like 8.
She's talking about like the political ramifications of her having 2 dads in reference to her class. Her like class and like her counselors and how that's all they want to talk about whenever she's involved.
Yeah. And
then
then
she talks about like, you know, how like some kids were being bullied or something, like with the bugs in their using the bugs as like metaphors for kids in their class. And then
the
5
rest of
minutes
the movie
after that, literally 5 minutes after, she goes up to her dad's and she's like, like she becomes like a baby immediately. And it was such a weird shift.
I think, and for the rest of the movie, she's just like screaming and scared and hiding behind other people,
which is fine. Like that's a normal reaction. That makes more sense.
But it's weird that he spent so much time like
establishing her,
this character to have like all these complex thoughts, just to have her like scream and cry and hide behind her dad.
Yeah, the whole movie.
Which you can, I think, probably what the script was it didn't start with that scene. Mm-hmm. That was later.
No, that was the most Shyamalan the movie.
The movie probably started with more setup, and then they probably slowly brought the plot in. Mm-hmm. I think Shyamalan wanted to have it be like tense from the first second, and because of that, he like wrote that whole opening scene, which is why it has probably the worst dialogue out of
by far
everything in the movie. His dialogue is a little bit better than it normally is.
But not in the beginning.
But I think that's because 2 other people also wrote the script.
No, the beginning dialogue is very Shyamalan.
For the whole first act, it's all Shyamalan dialogue. From start to finish, it's all his dialogue.
What? No!
Like, and I don't, like, Dave Bautista goes on this whole monologue about like a children's cartoon and why he thinks that it's good that children.
This is a good show.
Yeah,
this show teaches kids good morals.
It's so awkward.
I love My Little Pony. This is a good show for kids.
I don't think he's good at giving actors like notes.
I don't think,
because like all of the actors end up like doing their performance in one way, and they do it in that one way throughout the entire movie. I don't think he's very good at like illustrating to the actors like where their characters are supposed to be at certain points, so it all just blends together. Like they just end up doing the same thing the whole time.
Yeah,
nobody ever really feels like they're changing.
I don't think his characters are, like I said, his characters have one trait and they stay that way. His
usually one emotional state.
His characters are less like characters in the sense that they they change. They're chess pieces.
Yeah.
They're chess pieces that he uses to lay out the board in a way that he thinks will look cool. Mm-hmm. The problem is I don't care about his characters because instead of getting emotionally invested in them, you're emotionally invested in the situation, not the characters that's affecting.
I'd say that probably the best performance here is Ben Aldridge, who plays Andrew. I think he has like the most range and has the most stuff to do in the movie.
Yeah, he was I think he was the most interesting because he was the only one that really had like conflict.
And he was out of both of the dads, the other one's played by Jonathan Groff. He's the only one that gets any like backstory. Like,
the other one just exists.
The other one is just there. We flash back constantly throughout the movie to like set up their whole relationship and like how they got here. And we see like when they adopted their daughter, and we see like early incidents that caused Andrew to become the way he is. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Groff is just there the whole time. And at the end of the movie,
you know who he reminded me of?
Who?
Dennis from It's Always Sunny. He looked like Dennis.
He looks a lot like Glenn Howerton.
Yeah. So the whole time this was going on, I was just imagining, wouldn't it be funny if this was It's Always Sunny?
You know Rupert Grint's character, the angry one?
Yeah.
He would have been great as that guy. But there's just a lot of really awkward, like stilted ideas and exposition that Shyamalan just has a really hard time getting through. And I don't think it's a very well constructed movie. Like, it's not incompetent, but in terms of like filmmaking, the cabin, the titular cabin where 98% of the movie takes place, is like we never really get a strong sense of that location before any of this happens.
No, it's just kind of a random. It's like an Airbnb,
which again I think is a consequence of his rewrite. Where if I were doing it, not that I'm saying I could make this movie better. I don't know if I could, but what I would do is you start off the movie slower. We get to know the characters. We get to know this environment. We set up where certain objects are, where certain exits.
Yeah,
and
we
entries.
knew nothing about the characters until like everything was already happening.
Like for certain reasons, Andrew Ben Aldridge's character has a gun, right? And they have it in their truck. And there's a tense part of the movie in that there's these home invaders. This is all in the trailer. There's these home invaders, and they're like, we got to get the gun because they're probably going to kill us, right?
Yeah.
And the whole time we're like, okay, we don't know where the truck is. So what are
the stakes?
We don't know what the stakes are. We don't know where they'd have to go to get it. We don't know how far away it is, where, like, what condition it's placed in.
We don't learn until like halfway through the movie that the truck is like outside. If we
start off the movie with them getting there, and we like show them unpacking their stuff, and we see the case, and we see him like reaching in to be like, should I bring it in? And he decides not to.
Yeah, that would have been a lot more
ends up being a negative decision later on. Like, all of that is stuff that should have been set up that would have made it. It probably wouldn't have been as tense as he wanted it to be.
But it would make a more interesting movie.
That would make a more interesting movie in that it would play with the audience's like memory of where stuff is and where they need to go to get out of here.
Like the way that the movie starts, where like everything just starts all at once, like there's no build up at all. That would be like if Star Wars started off with the trench run.
And I think
like you don't start off with everything happening. You introduce the characters, you get a sense of who they are,
which
then you're invested in them by the time the crazy thing happens.
Which that can work if the intensity is always really, really high, and it's just like a thrill, and it's just like you're sitting forward in your seat, and you just can't wait to see what happens next. But the problem is that's what he's going for. But the story has giant gaps of downtime where our characters are just literally sitting in chairs talking to each other about their backstories. And
I would argue that the movie Smile did like a better job with like character introductions and like while keeping the tension than this movie did.
This movie literally has multiple scenes where we have our two dads who are tied up in the chairs, and then the four like home invaders walk one by one into the middle, where they are shot head on in a close up, and they talk about their backstory and who they are and why they think this is happening and why they're there and what their goals are.
This is a bad situation.
And then they back up, get back in line, and then the next one comes in. They give their whole spiel, back up, next one, and that just like there's just massive chunks of downtime where he is just shooting in all of this information to the audience, where that intensity already drops. So removing a bunch of setups that you can then slightly fill in with backstory that also breaks up the tension. It just serves no purpose to have not just put that at the beginning where it'd feel more natural instead of just constantly having to stop to inject more and then keep moving.
Once the third act starts, the tension's gone because you know what the situation is.
Yeah.
Once they get to the part where the things start falling from the place, you start to realize, it is what it is. And they just gotta do it.
Very much enjoys exposition via TV newscast.
That's his favorite way to do it.
It happens probably 7 or 8 times during the movie where a big thing happens and then all of our characters stop what they're doing so that they can watch television.
So they can watch CNN.
Showing them what's going on in the world. It happens multiple, including in the at the very start of the third act, after a major event has occurred.
Also, you know what's funny? There were no cables going to the cabin.
I mean, there must have been.
Well, they cut the phone cable.
Yeah.
But that's underground. TV cables, that's like part of the electricity thing.
Yeah.
No cables.
Well, there's electricity in the cabin.
So presumably they are using internet television.
Maybe.
They can't. They're gone.
Anyway, but without getting any further into spoilers, I just I guess it's a recommend. It's not terrible.
It's like this is the only thing out, so I don't know, go ahead.
It's got some interesting things in it that we'll get into.
It will entertain you.
I'm going to close this door.
You just might not be satisfied with the conclusion.
Speaking of the conclusion, let's get into spoilers. So, if you don't want to hear that,
skip ahead.
I'll put a time.
Probably, yeah.
So the twist of the movie is that there is no twist.
The crazy guys were right the whole time.
Well, I guess the twist is that they're the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
Which, by the way, he doesn't know what the four horsemen of the apocalypse are.
But the problem is what he says. He monologues and goes, "This guy was him, and this guy was him." The problem is that none of them are the actual four horsemen of the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can pull up what he describes them as. He's like, this one is guidance, and this one is caring, and this one is like wrath. And I'm like, that's not what those are.
I think the four horsemen of the apocalypse, I think, are like famine, war, pestilence, and
they're
plague.
all horrible.
It's so famine, war, pestilence, and plague, not caring, guidance, wrath, and second grade teacher, whatever he was.
Also, if you wanted that to be the metaphor, you didn't have to spell it out for us.
Or you could have just made them with the actual thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't have to tell us what your made up versions of them are.
That was probably a thing where it was not written that way. And then he went back later and went, well, there's four of them.
Also, do you remember how this group assembled, how they learned about each other?
Sam, it was visions.
Yes, but do you remember how they got in contact with each other?
Reddit! Sam, so we got another Reddit villain.
Another movie where the antagonists are Redditors.
Let's add that to the list. We got Scream 5. We got The Batman. And we got Knock at the Cabin. Sam, was there another one? I feel like there was a fourth one. I'll remember it later. But we'll add that to our ever-growing collection of modern films that think Reddit
is evil.
Is an evil, cool plot device to use. Either way, it turns out that they were right. The world is going to end unless one of them is killed. Jonathan Groff, who it's alluded to, is slowly being convinced that they're right throughout the movie.
One of them starts off already kind of because I think they keep bringing up the fact that he's religious.
They say that he's Catholic at the end.
And they go to a church, a
adoption
or something.
agency.
Yeah. And there's a painting of Jesus on the wall.
And the other one mentions it.
Yeah, he's like, I know you might want to pray. And the other guy's like, okay.
And that's it. But that's the only setup
they
that he's
allude
religious.
to the fact that he's religious, and I think because of that, or I think that's what Shyamalan was going for, is because he's religious, he's more willing to accept that this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of gets convinced a little bit easier, whereas the other one who's not religious takes a little bit more time to convince him.
Is Shyamalan a Christian?
I don't think so.
Because if you watch this movie, you would think he is, right?
No, I would think he isn't, because he doesn't know what the Bible happens.
Okay, but other than the Four Horsemen stuff, the whole plot of the movie is
Do you see a painting of Jesus and think, oh man, I gotta pray right now?
Well, okay.
Have you ever done that?
Maybe I don't know what his background is, but the whole movie, the premise is that four guys show up having received visions with weird, strange weapons they've created, which they never explain why they made those weapons.
Yeah, they just kind of
by the way. And they're slowly killing themselves because one of this family has to kill one of the other ones to save the world, because otherwise God is just going to get real mad and blow everything up. And they're just proven to be right.
Yeah, so I guess the...
why would you, knowing that the one in their universe, God is just a very angry man
who demands a blood sacrifice every X
demands
years.
A blood sacrifice from a family with an 8-year-old child to stop him from just blowing the whole world up out of boredom.
One time that this has happened a lot. This is
a thing that happens every 100 years
every
or
few
something.
years. Yeah, this is the thing that occurs.
And the fact that they're just right the whole time, and that's it.
There's also no recorded,
and it's heavily shown throughout the movie that they are correct. It's never there's always a little bit of doubt, but it's really not a mystery whether or not they are.
So the first two, the way that the plagues get unleashed is they murder one of their guys, and then that unleashes whatever the thing is. Which, if that was how it worked, why not just not kill them and avoid all this? But whatever, not touching that. The first one, I believe, was like a disease, like COVID or whatever, starts breaking out.
No, the first one was a giant tidal wave.
Or one of those two. And they show the news and it's like pre-recorded. So like there's a little bit of doubt is like, okay, is this going on? Or are they just clipping stuff to like torture this family and make him go crazy? Like, are they just harassing this family? Or is the apocalypse actually happening? But then you get to the third one.
And there's like literal airplanes
start all like falling out of the sky
the cabin,
for no reason.
Planes are falling. This is you.
Yeah, that's
at the cabin. Planes are falling out of the sky and crashing. Like at that point, they're just right. So what mystery is left?
And then that's the point where like they're like, oh, I guess we gotta kill one of us. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I think it would have worked a lot better as sort of like a morality tale if it was completely ambiguous the whole time.
Yeah, it would have been a lot more interesting.
Maybe a few things influence the cabin, right? Maybe we get a few, like maybe when they're talking about the wave, like a tropical storm rolls in and they're like, that's weird, right? Or like, we hear about this disease that's killing all the life and we see like a squirrel fall out of a tree and die. Yeah. Just like little things that maybe give you the idea that they're correct. And this is my problem with the exposition via TV newscast.
Yeah.
Is it's just literally we stop, the lady explains what's going on, that there's the big event that they were describing is correct. And then we move on to the next thing. Like I feel like it would have been really interesting if like during the first like physical confrontation in the cabin when they first get there, someone breaks the television.
Yeah.
And then all of the characters are like, there's no way it can be like
and then
specifically proven to them, and our four horsemen are like thrown off. So they're like having to like draw at scraps of things to try to convince them when like the blatant like see it with your own eyes thing isn't there.
Yeah, because it's so blatantly obvious that it's happening, it kind of ruins the mystery. Mm-hmm. And then again, also at the end, like, so spoiler alert, this is the big ending. This is the big spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
Daddy Andrews kills the other one, shoots him.
Jonathan Groff.
Yeah. And then him and his daughter go into their pickup truck and they drive into this town.
Yeah.
And then they go to this like gas station and everyone's watching the news and the news lady's like, everything is now A-okay.
Magically, it's all cleared up.
The planes have stopped falling. The disease is gone. the waves have gone back to normal and everything is fine. And then it's like, oh, okay, so that just was real then.
Even if you showed all that happening, have them drive away and we don't see it stop.
Yeah, I don't want to know if it worked or not.
Yeah.
I want to be like, did it work or were they
crazy? But again,
crazy?
I don't...
But no, Shyamalan was like, nope, I think God just hated this family in particular.
And the whole world. But I feel like Shyamalan wants you... I don't think Shyamalan likes it when you walk away from a movie questioning something or like not knowing exactly what happened. Like he wants you to see every single thing in a very blatant and direct way.
And he will tell you what the point of every single thing is.
What the point of everything is, what everything means, what every character's backstory is.
I wonder if that's
where they all end up.
I wonder if that's why people like his movies so much.
It's because it's so clear.
Because it requires zero thinking. Like it's he has
maybe that's it.
He has deep premises. And then he explains to you every single facet.
When it first started, I was like, okay, I think I get what he's going for. The movie is about people who are radically like religious or have like strange views that go into other people's homes, and it's about how those people who can even seem as like good normal people can influence others to do bad things based on like non-existent real evidence, right?
Yeah, I thought that's where they were going to. I thought it was like a pseudo critique of like, you know, Christianity and like religion or something like that. I thought it was something.
Yeah.
But with the ending that we
just like religious inspired violence.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was about. It's just it was a critique of like religious inspired violence. Mm-hmm. And then it turns out, nope, those guys were actually 100% valid. Yep. They were actually completely correct.
You gotta kill your family members, guys.
And you gots to kill your family because God's mad. Like, huh? What do we learn from that?
Yeah. It's just a strange, and he changed the ending. The ending of the book is apparently far more sad. In the book, the daughter dies because there's like an accident.
Yeah.
Like they're fighting over the gun, and it goes off and it hits her, and she's the one who dies. And the book ends with the apocalypse happening and the two dads just wandering into the woods alone.
Yeah,
right. And that's how the book ends. In this, it's all just like wrapped up in a neat little bow.
It's like, alrighty, everything's good to go.
We even flash forward to the future where like the daughter is like a mature adult, and she's got like a job and a nice car,
with her dad,
and they're going to dinner with the dad.
Lexus,
and I'm like,
happy.
Both of you would be scarred for life.
Nah, they're fine. They're
Both of you would be like alcoholics in therapy right now. This would not be happening.
No, I think the deep emotional trauma of having your dad kill your other dad at the age of 6 would leave you perfectly normal.
Like the idea that there is a God who is out there and he wants you to kill your family members. You would just be terrified for the rest of your life.
If anything, that would be like a Lovecraftian sort of situation.
Specifically you, God is there and he wants you to shoot people you love. Like that is just a messed up idea.
Just the idea that there is like an omnipotent being that exists and hates you in particular.
And either you have to do the terrible murders or everyone else in the entire world has to die.
You would become crazy.
Yeah. But yeah,
in this movie, it turns out that's fine and everyone's good and cool.
Shyamalan is great at the premise. But
he always comes up with good premises.
He's got the premise down, and he's not a terrible director. He's
a really bad writer.
He's just a very bad writer.
And he's a god. Okay, I don't know if it was the cinematographer's fault, maybe who did the camera angles, but that guy needs to never ever do another movie.
The angles are okay. It's like the framing.
There were some cool shots where like they motion track an object like that.
There
was
was some stuff that I thought was cool that I wish they did more.
But then there's other times where half the movie is a close up shot so close you can count their eyelashes.
A lot of the shots are like these slow like panning moves, and I thought that was like, okay, that's very 70s. That gives this movie like a really strong like visual sensibility, and there's a lot of like interesting like action beats where the camera is like locked down in the middle of the room.
Yeah, on like a person's face.
And we're like
or something.
swiveling throughout the room, keeping track of what's going on. And I thought that was all very cool. But then the movie would just like randomly switch to the camera being right here
in the middle of the frame.
Right in your face, like right on, like just someone going, whoa! And that's the whole shot.
Yeah.
And so it's a mix
like this. That was every
if you're
shot.
Watching the video, Patrick's angle in
that's
the last
every
episode.
movie. That's every shot of the movie.
It's just he could come up with interesting ideas, but he's not
rarely
great
ever
at the
delivers.
execution.
Yeah,
and that's I think this biggest problem. Like if he would just have kept the original script, I don't know if it would have been a great movie because I don't know what it was. But it the characters probably would have spoken.
The
more
characters
like
would have
people.
at least been less of like parodies of themselves.
Yeah. It's interesting. And a lot of people, the big thing people were talking about coming out of this was Dave Bautista's performance.
I actually thought he was good.
He was good. I don't think he was like as great as people are raving about. But
I think he
did pretty good.
I thought he did fine. I mean, he was
I don't think any of the flaws in his performance are his fault.
The biggest problem I had with that character is who on earth would hire a second grade teacher with that many tattoos?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a teacher with tattoos ever?
I don't know. Maybe
other than like maybe
like
no
like
ankle.
Visible ones.
Yeah,
no.
Maybe on their ankle, maybe like on their upper like back.
Well, to be fair, I've also never had like a teacher who's like 6'6" and weighs like 300 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, maybe that's because those guys don't become teachers. So I thought that was a little. I thought physically he didn't quite fit the role, but I think that was also part of the point, maybe a little bit. But yeah, overall,
my biggest problem with it is just that literally
everything is explained.
Nothing is left even remotely ambiguous.
Nothing is left up to the imagination.
Like even there's this little like not even like an egg where Rupert Grint's character is the same guy who beat
They kind of
Who beat
allude.
one of them up in a bar like 20 years
They
ago.
kind of allude to the fact that this might be the same guy,
like a hate crime inspired thing.
but they never. That's the only thing that's left up to interpretation.
Then they're proven to be right about the whole end of the world thing, and they reveal that it was him anyway.
So he actually was doing a hate crime,
but he did.
but it was a justified hate crime.
But he was doing the same. Like, we don't need to know if it's not important. Why did we go down that road? Because it didn't matter whether or not he did that anyway.
Shyamalan's movies are like if there was a million Chekhov's guns and none of them ever are used ever. But he tells you what each one is for.
Shyamalan's version of a Chekhov's gun is where we establish at the start of the movie that
there's a room full of guns.
There's a gun, and at the end of the movie, a character takes it off the wall, slowly explains to you each part of a firearm, and then puts it down and
then puts it back on the wall, and then leaves and the movie ends.
That's Shyamalan's gun.
Yeah, it's the overall, I would say this is a 5 out of 10, which for a Shyamalan movie, pretty good.
He needs to use other screenwriters that aren't himself.
He needs to.
He can still do the story, like he can still come up with the story idea, and he can still direct it.
But he cannot write.
But
he
just can't. He's so bad at writing dialogue.
I
don't understand how you can write for like 25 years, like professionally, and still not understand how basic human conversations go.
I genuinely think he's like never talked to a normal person before. I don't think he's ever had like a normal human conversation. I think he was raised by robots.
I think he talks about making the movie, and I don't think he talks about anything else.
I don't think anyone ever talks to him. I think he talks a lot, but I think as soon as someone says something to him, he just cuts them off.
I'd like to talk to him just to see if that's how he talks.
Yeah, is that how he talks?
Like, I don't see a lot of interviews and stuff with him, but I'm assuming he doesn't talk that way.
Because no human being talks that way.
That's so weird to speak like that. It's just
the reason why it's weird to speak like that is because if you speak like that, it makes other people uncomfortable. Do you feel uncomfortable now that I'm speaking to you like this?
Yes, I'm uncomfortable, and I've been uncomfortable before one time.
One time when I was uncomfortable. Like, it's the worst. I'm sorry. It's the worst way to write dialogue.
Anyway, I hope he gets to make more movies. If you want to talk about box office for a sec.
Let's talk about this.
It did 15 million opening weekend. It cost like $20 million. I think all of it was his own money. So
is it gonna?
It'll probably
make money.
It did lower than Old did at opening weekend.
But Old was also much more.
But
marketed.
Old was also PG-13, and this is R. And
this
I don't know why this was R. That was also strange to me.
Maybe because of the blood.
But
there's a lot of blood.
But they cut away from all of the actual impacts.
Maybe but the last one where he actually just cuts his neck open.
Other than that,
But even then, the camera drops below his neck,
and even there's
you just see the blood running.
And there's not a whole lot of swearing, no nudity.
Like the gore in Megan was worse than the gore in this.
Yeah,
movie.
and that was PG-13.
That was PG-13.
It's just I don't know why it was.
Megan should have been rated R and wasn't. This movie should have been rated PG-13 and wasn't.
Like they don't even do an F-bomb.
No, they don't
and
swear.
And you can do that in a PG-13 movie. They do that in 80 for Brady.
Oh, good. That's another thing. I love the trope of old ladies swear.
No, the old lady doesn't swear. Tom Brady swears.
Oh, well, they should have made it the other way.
Because Tom Brady's catchphrase is "Let's effing go."
Is that real?
That's his actual brand catchphrases.
Good catchphrase. Kevin.
Before every game, he would run across the entire field, throw his fist in the air, and yell, "Let's effing go."
Like something like a middle schooler would have come up with, and he would have stopped doing by the time he turned 14.
If you've ever seen Tom Brady do interviews, he doesn't have the most complex vocabulary.
Maybe that's where Shyamalan learned how to write.
To be fair,
maybe Shyamalan had one conversation with Tom Brady, and it was like every character should talk like this.
Part of Tom Brady's job was getting hit by 400-pound men constantly, multiple.
That's true. At least he has an excuse.
Hundreds of times. Shyamalan has sat himself in a closet alone for 20 years, just hammering out screenplays.
So what we've learned today is that if you never talk to anyone, it's the same as getting bludgeoned over and over again. You'll end up socially the same.
You can. There's two ways to not know how people talk. One is be M. Night Shyamalan, and two is to have TJ
hundreds
Watt
of dudes
drive
pile
you into
drive
the ground
you.
20 times.
All right, let's move on to Star Wars Visions.
Let's get into the
Volume 2.
news, Sam.
We got, I believe, titles revealed for each episode.
So we got some information. There will be 9 brand new shorts on in the new season, which is
that
the same as last
same
time.
amount?
It's gonna all 9 of them will come out on May 4th.
Let's go.
May the 4th be with you. 9 new animation studios.
So none of them are
shorts.
sequels.
None of them are follow-ups. None of them are the same studio.
That's a little bit disappointing.
And no studio is producing multiple. Last season, I think there were 2
I think Studio
multiple.
Trigger made... No, Studio Trigger only made one. I think Gainax made 2.
A couple of them made multiple. Every single short is a different studio this time.
Did we have the list of studios?
We got titles and studios.
Okay.
So we have Sith, which is going to be produced by El Guri, which is a Spanish animation house.
Interesting.
Screechers Reach, which is by Cartoon Saloon from Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
In the Stars by Punk Robot. That's a studio in Chile. Chile, not Chile. Chile is a food. I Am Your Mother, produced by Aardman from the United Kingdom. Yes, that Aardman.
Just a guy named Aardman?
No, Aardman as in like Wallace and Gromit.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
That's a comedy one.
That's obviously.
Yeah.
If it's not claymation,
It's called I Am
what
Your
are we
Mother.
doing here?
Yeah. No, it's definitely going to be... What do you mean? It's definitely going to be claymation.
They've done...
That's going to be like a Robot Chicken episode.
Yeah. I'm excited. That's the one I want to see.
I want to see Robot Chicken.
If I don't watch any of these, that'll be the one I watch.
Yeah.
Is the Aardman one. Journey to the Dark Head by Studio Mer in South Korea. The Spy Dancer by Studio La Cache in France. The Bandits of Golak from 88 Pictures. The Pit by D'Art Shidijo. I don't know.
That is.
That's a Japanese studio. That's also...
Wait, spell it?
D'Art Shtaijo.
I haven't heard of them.
That's also Lucasfilm, and Lucasfilm Ltd helped with the production of that short as well.
So that one's probably the most Star Warsy.
And then Ao's song, it's AAU.
AAU?
Yeah, that's the name.
Ow.
Song, which is by Triggerfish in South Africa.
Interesting.
So they're leading less into the anime stuff. And
yeah,
it looks like they're going for like a broader range of styles than even last.
I was hoping like maybe a couple of them would be follow-ups though, because some of them were like actually like interesting worlds that I wanted to see more of.
Well, Sam, now you're instead gonna get
the black and white one with like the Sith Hunter guy. Like that was cool.
That was the only. No, I watched. I'm sorry, I only watched 2 of the shorts from last.
You should
time.
go back and watch.
I watched the first one, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, that one was sick.
And then I watched the next one.
The Tatooine
was
one?
the dumb Pod Race Tatooine one.
Yeah, that one was lame.
And after that, I was like,
No, okay, go
and
back.
Then I never went back and watched the rest of them.
If you watch any of the other ones, and the Studio Trigger one's it just has really flashy animation. I watched that. That one's good. Watch, I think it's called Lop and Ocho. I think that's what it's called. That one is like actually just like a good story. Like that one's actually just a solid actual story with a conclusion.
Yeah, the next one up on the thing after the Tatooine one was like the one where there's like the 2 people and they have like a million lightsabers and they're like flinging them at each other. And I was like,
oh, that's the Studio Trigger one.
I was like, that looks like I wouldn't know what's happening.
Well, okay, so that one is the simplest out of all of them.
Okay,
it's just one of them is evil, one of them is good. Fight.
Yeah,
like that's it. Conceptually, that one's like the simplest. That was just Studio Trigger was like, oh, we can do whatever we want. Let's just make ridiculous animation. All right, we're done. Here you go.
I'm also not caught up on the Bad Batch. I'm like 2 or 3.
I watched the most recent one. I didn't watch I think I'm caught up. The last one I saw.
The last one was.
What was it called? What's the name of it? And then I'll remember what happened in it.
Let's see. The last one was. Oh, I'm 4 behind. Jeez. Was Truth and Consequences?
Yeah, I'm not caught up. Hold up.
Clone Conspiracy was the one before that. Did you watch that one?
Let me.
Why are they getting progressively longer in runtime?
So they're getting more like canon, like more important stuff is happening. Hey, I'm in.
Just walk in the door.
Okay, so this one just came out yesterday. Truth and Consequences. Okay, so the last one I watched is Clone Conspiracy. Then,
is that one about like Captain Rex or something?
It was. I don't remember, honestly. I don't know why I can't remember. I just remember it was actually cool. We're doing what we're always doing. What do you mean?
Look, everybody, it's Max.
Right now we're talking about Bad Batch. You don't have a chair, by the way.
He's gonna walk in.
You
front
have no
of the camera.
microphone too, by the way.
That's why I'm going to talk really loud.
No,
They
you're not.
won't be able to hear you.
Nope, just don't do
All
that.
right, what are you
All
saying?
right, so that's Visions, Sam.
All
You
right.
excited? You excited for more Visions?
I really liked the first Star Wars Visions, but I also like anime, so
Yeah.
it was like half of it was I really like Star Wars. That's one of my favorite things, and then also I really like anime. That's one of my favorite
This was
things.
like engineered
and they were
for
like,
you.
"Here's a Star Wars animes," and I was like, "Awesome!" And then this one, it's like, "All right, well, we got Star Wars, and we got some other guys."
The funniest thing is
Here we
I'm
go.
probably more excited for this one than the other one, and you don't care about this one.
I mean, there's some of them I'm in. Like, I want to see the Wallace and Gromit one. Obviously,
I want to
That
see the
sounds
Armin
awesome.
one.
Uh,
I want to look at it. Not Wallace and Gromit.
So the next season is like it's not anime. It's just like random studios.
One of them is
And the
Artman, who made-
studio that makes Wallace and Gromit
is doing
doing one of the episodes.
I like how
and
we
the-
have to.
That is kind of cool.
It's called I Am Your Mother. So it's obviously going to be like a goofy episode.
Anyway, Sam, moving on from this fun discussion about
Watch
movies,
it be claymation, but it's like
and
extremely
anime.
serious.
Sam, let's get on to corporate studio financial politics.
Everyone's favorite thing.
Oh
you
my
guys love
gosh.
politics? You guys love mega corporations? You guys love
billion-dollar industries,
you guys love bad labor practices?
monopolies.
Well, boy, do we got a story for you.
Max,
Max, why are you rifling through my garbage like a raccoon?
I'm a head out.
Max, walked
They
in.
still can't hear you.
I said I'm a head out. I'll see y'all later.
Max waltzed in with just
About the-
laid down on the couch,
No, I haven't seen the newest episode.
yelled about
Episode
Star
3 was
Wars
really good, though.
Visions. Yelled about Star Wars Visions, asked for ruffled through the garbage, and asked for food, and then left.
All right, bye. See you later.
What
Okay,
was- we have
tell
the
me
worst
about
show.
Warner Brothers and
Anyway.
Disney.
So, Sam, Warner Brothers Discovery, our favorite bankrupt mega corporation.
We love The only thing better than a mega corporation
So,
is a bankrupt
Back
mega
when
corporation.
Discovery and Warner Brothers merged in I want to say early last year, they announced that Discovery Plus and Warner Brothers and HBO Max were no longer going to be two separate things.
They're going to combine.
They're going to combine into one streaming
They're going
service,
to
right?
Frankenstein it.
Well, they announced today that Discovery Plus will remain a standalone service even after the release of the combined Warner Brothers Discovery streaming platform that is supposed to launch in the spring.
What?
Many in the company felt that those paying for the relatively cheap Discovery Plus, which is a $5 ad-supported tier and a $7 ad-free tier, would be unwilling and upset with having to pay a dramatically increased price for a bunch of content they didn't ask for. Many inside and outside the company are unsure about the merger of the reality-based Discovery series and the higher-profile HBO programming generally.
Yeah, it's almost like those are completely polar opposite concepts.
Despite this, the company is still planning on launching the service, pretty much all but confirmed to be named Max. Just Max.
Max is now a streaming service.
Yep. In the spring, that will still include many of the same content offerings present on Discovery Plus. So the plan is, in the spring, they're going to launch Max, which will probably cost the same as HBO Max does now, and it'll just have a majority of the Discovery Plus library available. But Discovery Plus, if you just want that stuff, you can still just get that stuff. If you still just want the Warner Brothers stuff, you can't do that. You got to buy all the Discovery Plus stuff at the same time. And it's probably going to cost more. By the way, HBO Max already costs $16 a month.
So they know that people don't want to pay more for content they don't want on the Discovery end.
Yep.
But the HBO fans,
So-
they love paying
Apparently
for stuff
their
they don't
internal
want. That's their favorite thing to do.
Apparently, the internal polling showed that the people who subscribe to Discovery Plus, when offered Game of Thrones, The Last of Us, Succession is the actual name.
Yeah.
DC original series, Warner
Well,
Brothers,
I mean, Titans is a huge
Turner
draw
Classic
for them.
Movies catalog. They went, no, we want 90 Day Fiance and 90 Day Fiance alone.
Yeah, that's what they pay for. That's All Discovery Plus is
the
the 90-day fiance and My Strange Addiction
And they went to the HBO subscribers and they went, hey, are you willing to pay more just to get 90-day fiance and My 600-Pound Life on the service? And they went, no. And they went, screw you, we're doing it anyway.
That's just the Warner Brothers model at this point.
And you'd think after being billions of dollars in debt, they would have reevaluated that strategy.
You'd think at this point, they might have realized, hey, maybe constantly screwing over our fans is a bad business model.
Our fans and employees.
But why does everybody hate us? I was giving you 90-Day Fiancé for so cheap, and now that it costs $20, now you're upset?
I know I'm overcharging for this platform that I constantly delete shows from and anger all of the creators by dumping all their movies on it without theatrical releases.
You finished watching Game of Thrones 5 years ago, but you should still pay me for it, because I made it.
I mean, I wasn't there when it was made, but it's mine.
But I did it, and you should give me money for it.
It's just like, it's so absurd. I get why they're doing it. They are racked for cash, right?
They're desperate for money. They're
desperate for cash, and they are going to lose subs if they make you upgrade to another service. So their plan is, we're just going to increase the price of the people who already have it. Because Netflix has shown that people are essentially willing to go up to like $20 in price before they start questioning anything.
And Netflix has way more shows and a way larger variety of content than HBO Max.
HBO Max, when it launched, was only like $3 cheaper than Netflix was.
Yeah.
And Netflix had been around for 8-9 years at that point.
And all HBO Max had at launch was they had Harley Quinn.
Oh, like what their launched original series were?
They had
there was
Titans season
Love Life
3.
with Anna Kendrick. I watched that.
They had
I watched that show. I don't know why.
What did they have?
Green Lantern, the animated series?
But we saw that already.
Oh, you talking about like new things?
They had a new Young Justice
season.
Season.
They did the Looney Tunes reboot?
Stuff we've seen.
I've seen some of those. They're pretty good.
The new Young Justice, I think, was the only thing they had at launch
But even that wasn't very good.
And that was like a year after launch.
Oh, like the 4th season?
Yeah.
That was like 2 years after launch.
Yeah, that was something they promised like right away and then didn't deliver on for like another 2 years.
Phantoms was okay.
Phantoms was fine. Okay, here's my thing about Young Justice. It was a fine ending. Is like, I want it to just not be bad. Yeah. And Phantoms wasn't bad, so I was like, that's fine.
Unlike Outsiders, which was not good.
Outsiders was just boring.
Outsiders was like cheap and boring. Like the animation was super cheap.
Yeah, well, the animation's always been cheap for Young Justice, though.
But it was even cheaper because it was on like the DC universe.
Remember when like you cared about the characters? Remember when Wally died and you were like, oh, that like sucks. He was cool.
I remember when the characters...
And then Superboy died and you were like, okay.
I remember when the main characters were like, there was like 7 of them, and every story had like, it was all of them.
And it built up to something.
And it built up, and they were all like characters I knew. And then by season 3, there was like 6 different teams, all of which had characters who had been introduced off screen. And our main character now was like a man with lava powers from like
also, can we talk about the fact that
Eastern European country?
The Outsiders is like
girlfriend
basically
who was a mother box as a human being.
The Outsiders are like basically like a terrorist organization. Like the government.
No, but they were popular on social media.
The government cracked down on the Justice League, and they cracked down on Young Justice. So the Justice League was like, "What do we do? I know. Let's make a superhero team that's illegal. That way, they can do illegal things."
Remember at the outset,
this is normal.
Remember at the outset of season 3 where they were like, "Guys, we have to split up. There's the Bat family, there's the Justice League, and then there's our ragtag group of outsiders, all right? And we're going to split time between all 3 of these teams throughout the season." And then it was literally all the outsider stuff, and the Bat family was on screen twice, and the Justice League, despite having like 4 of the main characters from the first 2 seasons on it just did nothing the whole time.
Keep in mind the Young Justice team was also basically a terrorist group. It was like the government had cracked.
And then there were 3 Young Justice teams.
So
there were
the government cracked down on the regular Justice League, and so the Justice League was like, "I know, we'll have our sidekicks do the stuff that we can't do.
We'll send them on illegal Black Ops missions, and they're all 12."
Yes, so they did that, and then eventually the government was like, "Hey, they've got like this army of child soldiers. They're sitting on Black Ops missions. Let's not let them do that anymore." And they were like, "Dang it. Okay, I have a solution. We make an army of even younger children, and we send them on even more dangerous
We'll send them on our Black Ops
foreign policy missions.
We'll send our Black Ops' Black Ops team to infiltrate the bad guys."
Like, what? Huh?
If the show had gotten to like season 6, we would have just been following literal babies.
It would have been a Black Ops team of like fetuses.
The show started going downhill when they decided to introduce like main characters completely off screen.
Yeah,
and just have pre-existing character dynamics already in play.
Halo. I actually thought was a cool like concept for a character. I didn't have any problems with Halo
until they were just given every single power.
Until she was given every single power, and like she stopped like changing as a character. Like after she broke up with
what's his face, Lava Man,
Lava Guy.
Yeah.
Also, Lava Guy was such a dumb character.
Hated him.
I am Lava Guy. I do lava, and also I don't like people.
Also, Halo's thing was like she was immortal, and so like every couple episodes they were like
they'd brutally murder her.
We can kill him, and none of the other characters ever die except for
and because
her.
It was on HBO Max, they could do like blood and gore. So every episode, she would get like brutally maimed. And since she's the only character that can come back to life with no problem, she's constantly getting brutally maimed.
And no one else is getting
again.
even remotely injured.
No, everyone else is fine except this poor girl who keeps getting like run over with like steamrollers and stuff. It was like just,
and it's not
bad.
Played for a joke. It's like they were doing it for
like
real.
they played it off every single time. They played it off as serious. They were like, "Oh my gosh, oh she just died, oh no," and then she came back. It's like, did you forget that that's like the one thing she does?
I also liked that one episode that was like you know when they would do like very special episodes addressing like real life topics.
Yeah, they would have every once in a while they do like a real
like on like
social
Boy
issue
Meets
type
World.
thing.
They would do an episode about like depression or whatever.
Yeah,
I liked the part in I think it was season 3, might have been season 4, when we just stop to do an episode about like child abuse.
Yeah, and it was like it just came out of nowhere.
It came out, and then it's just a one-off, and then that's it.
And then at the end, they were like,
"If you are experiencing,
call this number."
And I'm like, "Okay,
okay." What's Batman doing though?
You know, we haven't seen Nightwing in 18 episodes. You know, he was basically the main character in season 1.
He was like the main guy.
Remember when they went like the first 20 episodes of season 4 without Nightwing showing up a single time?
And he's like, I don't know, the leader of the team.
He's
the main guy.
He's the sidekick. Dick Grayson.
He's like the king of sidekicks.
Is the guy who invented there being a sidekick, and he's not even in the 4th season until the very end.
Is bad.
Season 4 was okay though.
Season 4 was better. Yeah,
it got better, and then
because they brought themselves back on course. They were like, all right.
Well, because the reason season 4 was better is because they were like, let's go back to the actual original characters from the show that the show was supposed to have been about this entire time.
Well, they remembered what the plot of the first 3 seasons were. They were like, oh yeah, there was like a story going on. we should continue that.
And like a set amount of main characters who were supposed to have the majority of screen time. And so they went back and they were like, okay, let's give every one of the original characters like a 4-episode arc.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool.
It was good.
We got to revisit them all, and then the show ended. In season 3, they were just like, 12 of the episodes are about Beast Boy, and Halo's
Beast Boy's
the main
depressed.
character.
There's kids being abducted in B country.
Miss Martian is bald again.
It was like just random nonsense. All right, enough about Young Justice.
Remember when Black Lightning shows up?
and then like leaves in the episode after that and like never shows up again.
And his conflict is that like he can't use his lightning powers because he accidentally killed someone.
And then he gets over it.
Then he gets over it.
And then
he's
fine.
like, I'm cool with shooting people again.
Never mind. We're good to go. All right.
That's my favorite episode of
Young Justice.
Of Arrow. Of Arrow. They do a whole episode about gun control. And the whole show, they're vigilantes who are definitely illegally acquiring like full automatic weapons.
They are literally
and just mowing down criminals the whole time.
They are all vigilantes operating outside the law with
zero government restriction, with obviously illegally acquired firearms. Just murdering
to be
criminals in the
fair,
street.
Green Arrow uses a bow.
No, but Diggle...
But that's not really better.
Diggle walks around with like an M16 just shooting people. And then they keep doing it after they did the episode.
Yeah, it's funny. Anyway,
they didn't stop doing it.
at least in Supergirl,
when they did their gun control episode,
they stuck to it.
Like in
after
Arrow,
that,
they just kept going.
They were like,
well, how do we write a television show where no one is shooting each other? I don't know.
All right, Jeff. I've got this pitch for you. All right, we're gonna make an episode where they say guns are bad, but and then the other guy goes in. He's like, but how do we keep making the show
if there's no guns?
Oh yeah, just pretend we just keep going.
Our focus group says the audiences for these shows are real.
The focus group says they forgot, so just keep going. All right. Anyway, what else? What about Disney? What happened to Disney?
So today, Disney had a massive earnings call in which they revealed a lot of really key financial information. Most of it was driven by the decision to target $5.5 billion in content savings company-wide. $3 billion of the cuts are coming to non-sports related content, which means movies, television, music, every streaming, all that. I don't know why they characterize it as non-sports. I think it means like we're not cutting away. We're not
like sports don't even make up the majority of their revenue. So like, why would they go out to specify? But not sports stuff.
But sports content is really cheap to produce.
Yeah.
So I think they're just saying that because there's no reason to cut costs there. Like
okay, what's your average? What's the highest paid player in the NFL right now?
Aaron Rodgers.
How much is he getting paid?
$50 million a year.
50 a year.
Yeah.
How much was Oscar Isaac paid for Force Awakens?
I don't know.
Probably like something similar.
But they're not running the NFL. This is like when it says like non-sports related content, it means like ESPN.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying like for context, like even comparing like the most expensive part, which is the actors and the players, like it's like
no, but like
comparable
ESPN
for significantly less
programming is four guys at a table yelling at each other about Tom Brady.
No, it's always the same. It's like an older kind of chubby black dude. It's like a little bit younger, sort of taller, like white dude with like a little bit of a beard, but not all the way, and then a fatter bald white dude, and then one Asian girl. And it's the same setup for every single show on ESPN. And usually one of them is like at home because they still have like weird COVID restrictions. So one of them's at home, and so they're like, Bob, what do you think about the sport? The guy who's playing sports. Well, John, I'm going to be honest. He's not so good at playing sports. I don't think he's as good at playing sports as he used to be. Well, no, John, I think he's really good at sports. Other one I think he's actually even better at sports than people say.
And then John goes like, well, he's won 9 worldwide championships. The other one's like, I could do better.
But that's sports is sports.
Yeah, no, but sports content, literally all you have to pay for is like a set, which is like a table.
It's like a table and a bunch of like baseball bobbleheads.
The only even remotely expensive part of sports programming is like the actual like talent.
Yeah, the hosts.
Is the hosts. And even like only like 3 of them cost like actual like large sums of money. Most of them are like former NFL players who flamed out after a year and needed a job
and didn't get degrees.
And so they're going to broadcast at 10:45 in the morning on ESPN2. Yeah, anyway,
I think football's actually like a cool sport to play.
2.5 billion. Okay, so
have you guys ever seen football?
So 2.5 billion of the cuts are for general operating costs. So that's like running the offices.
So if you're a secretary and you work for Disney, watch out.
And 1 billion in cuts have already been implemented. Many of these cuts are coming throughout the entertainment industry, just generally, as a rapid pivot to streaming during the COVID-19 pandemic has focused business as the like primary focus of the businesses has proven to mean massive content spending despite the very little profitability within the business model. Basically, streaming is like the whole streaming market is like it's like dependent on the idea that you produce enough content where hundreds of millions of people will subscribe to your service so that you have so much from subscription dollars that will make up from the billions you're spending on producing content constantly for the platform. And because that's literally never worked a single time for any of these,
I think
it turns out it's not a key financial move to rely entirely upon that business model.
I think the industry trend towards streaming is finally bursting. The bubble is popping.
Yeah.
And
it
here's
didn't take
why.
that long.
It didn't take that long. Because everyone saw the numbers Netflix was doing.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, they're doing numbers. Oh, although I like those numbers.
100 million, that's a lot of people.
My grandma pays for Netflix. We should make a Netflix. And none of them, not a single one, went on Google and was like, does Netflix make
any money?
No. Oh, and it seems like one of the executives at Warner Brothers and Disney went, does Netflix make money?
Yeah.
Oh, and now they're like, oh, we have to like not. We're actually gonna die if we keep doing this.
Yeah.
Because Netflix has never been profitable. I think there was like 1 or 2 quarters where they actually turned a profit because they spend so much on making content that they cannot recoup the cost of the content that is bringing in subscribers. And Netflix has hit the ceiling.
Netflix is not going to get much bigger.
Netflix is not going to get much bigger,
especially when they're increasing the price.
And they know that because they keep increasing the price,
and they're desperate
and
to
they're
get
cracking,
those
and they were
the password
cracking
sharing.
down on the password. Now they did back out of that. Kinda.
In the
well, they
US,
said they're going to do it later.
They started doing it in other countries.
They were already
like
doing it
this
in
week.
other countries.
Yeah.
But Netflix has basically hit its cap. And generally speaking, in most businesses, whatever the most successful one is, that's like the cap. Mm-hmm. Like basically, unless you make a major
no one's
innovation,
going to do a smartphone company better than Apple did right now.
Exactly. No one's going to make a better smartphone than Apple, or no one's going to make a more profitable smartphone company than Apple
has.
No one's going to make a better Disney Channel than Disney. Like generally, whatever the top dog is in a certain industry, generally that's around where the cap
quality
is.
In terms of like financial,
in terms of the maximum money to be made in a space.
Yeah.
And they're seeing that Netflix is the top dog. They're at the top of the mountain, and they're still strapped for cash. And their model is dependent on growth. If they don't grow, the model collapses.
And constant production. Like you can't ever slow down the pipeline because the only reason that you're retaining people at all is because you're spending so much already.
Yeah, and I think they're finally realizing that this is all kind of coming
and they caused this.
No, this is their fault.
I've been thinking about it for a while, and I'd say that there were Hollywood is slowly bleeding out, right? Financially and creatively.
Has been for a while.
And there are 2 dates that you can really like label as the impact wound of both.
The first impact.
It started dying financially in 2007 when Netflix launched a streaming on-demand video platform, which single-handedly would lead to the death of 2 of Hollywood's most important profitability wings.
Yeah.
It completely eliminated the entire home video market.
Gone. Immediately gone.
And that was a super large part of how movies made money for like 40 years.
Immediately, right away, DVD sales gone.
No DVD.
Blu-rays came out a little bit later, and for a while there was a value proposition to Blu-rays because they were a higher quality than Netflix, but Netflix caught up real quick.
And then HD streaming video.
HD streaming came out as internet got better, Netflix got better, and internet got better pretty dang fast. And that immediately destroyed the long-term profitability
market
of almost any movie.
Yeah.
Mostly kids programming was the most heavily affected.
And then they killed television at the same time because they completely eliminated the need for network TV. No longer are you needing to turn into a channel at a certain time to watch a show. Now you can just stream. Now you have 100 options all the time, no matter what. And so there's no reason to ever turn on
not
your
only
television
that, but
again.
it changed the way that television storytelling was done.
Yeah.
Because before Netflix, if you miss an episode of a show, you miss that episode of that show.
Yeah.
Some TV providers gave you on demand, and that like kind of helped. But that was really only after Netflix.
The only people really doing like shorter season serialized storytelling at the time was HBO, and that was a paid premium cable network.
And that was still a channel. If you miss an episode of Game of Thrones, you got to pay real close attention to the recap
stuff, but you never had the option to pick between 8 HBO shows and watch them from start to finish at any time.
Exactly, yeah. And so because and that also changed people's expectations when it came to storytelling. Because you could consume the story in its entirety relatively quickly, your expectations for the quality of that story went up. When you watch a story piece by piece once a week and you sometimes miss chapters, the quality of the story is not that important.
Yeah.
When you're watching the whole story start to finish and you're really paying attention and you're watching them one after the other, you spot a lot more inconsistencies. You spot more detail. You pay more attention, and the story matters more to you because you can consume it. Which was
good in that it forced Hollywood to try to make better programming, but that's also expensive. Bad for them in that they could no longer make profits off of stuff that the audience was not a fan of because they would immediately just switch to watching something else.
Exactly.
Instead of the whole idea of we're watching it because it's on was eliminated by streaming video. And then creatively, it died in December of 2015 when Star Wars The Force Awakens came out. And the whole idea of we can make $2 billion by taking an IP that has a giant nostalgia base for it, throwing in some old actors, a bunch of young people, and then just like keep doing the franchise by remaking old things over and over and over again.
When was the first Disney live action remake?
Well, there was like...
Because I would argue that like those did way more damage than Star Wars.
Well, there was always remakes. Remakes have always existed.
Because the Star Wars universe had always expanded past Episode 6. People wanted that. Yeah. Nobody wanted a live action Lion King. People wanted more Star Wars.
Remakes have been a thing in Hollywood since the 40s. Since they remade silent films into color films with sound, right?
Yeah.
And then, but the difference is that The Force Awakens proved that sequels entirely based on IP recognition was the proven business model,
or that it was a model that could work,
or it was a model that could work. So no longer can you bet on an original movie, especially now that you've eliminated the entire home video market. Now, in order to make profits, you have to make it all while it's in theaters, and the only way to prove that it'll make profits is to take old IPs that people know, throw the old people back in so they don't feel like it's a rehash, and then stick it into theaters.
We're just tracking like the metas of like television.
Anyway, we never even finished the Disney thing.
Yeah, what happened? They're cutting off 7,000 employees.
So of the non-content cuts, 50% will come from promotion and marketing, which is a heck of a lot.
How are they going to cut 50% of their marketing?
I don't know.
How is anything they're gonna... Okay, for the last, like... I've noticed this for the last, like, 6 months or so. None of my friends know what movies are coming out.
Did they know what's coming out before?
No. Like, most of them
don't even... before, like, 6 months ago. Were they, like,
generally speaking, like, they saw trailers for stuff. Yeah. They knew what was coming out in theaters. For the last, like, 6 months, they didn't realize something was out until it was out. Like, look at Avatar.
Yeah.
No one knew that was out until it was out.
People knew it was a thing that was happening,
but no one knew it actually came out.
Nobody was talking about it until the week of.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there was... The hype for things is non-existent.
Yeah, there is no more hype, which goes back to the idea that there's just so much content now. There's no reason to be excited for anything.
It's hard to be hyped.
You have 9 things on a watch list that you have to get through first anyway. 30% of the cuts are coming from labor, so employees, and 20% from technology, which means like the actual streaming apps and park systems.
Is that technology or is that VFX?
That's not content cuts. This is like technology infrastructure. So like,
So just Disney Plus
yeah,
development?
the Disney Plus development.
What else? What other technology are they doing?
Like, I don't like
Making
internal systems.
the
networking, I don't know.
animatronics at Disneyland? Are they going to like make
I don't know.
20% less animatronics? What does
Just
that mean?
general, I don't know, techno. What it really means is like experimenting with new technology.
Oh, you know what that means? Games.
They already don't make games.
No, but they started doing it again. They started making games
Other than
again.
that, yeah, mobile games, that stuff.
Mobile
that's getting
games.
cut.
They made that stupid
But
Toys to Life game.
20% from technology. That's the least amount of the three.
Yeah, that's not
As
really-
part of the setback, 7,000 employees will be laid off company-wide with no specifics given, except that the least of the layoffs will come from the parks division, which is still the most profitable wing of the entire company.
Not a good time to work for.
If you don't know this, Disney makes a vast majority of its money from the theme parks.
The
Way
reason
more
why,
than its movies ever make.
the reason why they can like afford to spend like $300 million making an Avengers movie is
Of
because
the parks.
it's funded by the parks.
Yeah. Much of what's happening was promised by Iger when he retook control of the company in late November from Bob Chapek, who was fired without any fanfare.
They did not like Bob.
After a couple years of controversy, and then, of course, the main thing was that at the Q4 earnings call last year, he had announced that $1.5 billion in streaming revenue was lost.
Wow.
Yeah, and that they had to push back their projection for when it would be profitable at all to fall 2024.
Maybe She-Hulk was not the move.
Maybe spending like a lot of hundreds of millions of dollars to develop shows like High School Musical, the series, was not a good financial decision.
Maybe making 3 seasons of that and then also making like a bunch of Marvel shows, only 2 of which are kind of good.
Maybe live action Lady and the Tramp wasn't going to steal any subscribers from Netflix.
Maybe your whole platform was kind of a bad idea to begin.
Iger also announced in the call that Disney was working on Frozen 3, Zootopia 2, and Toy Story 5. This was 1, to cover up the fact that most of this news is negative, and 2, because Disney's animation division has been struggling the last couple years.
And also hasn't like made it a good movie in a while.
Strange World was a massive bomb.
Strange World
Lightyear was also a bomb.
was also
Raya
bad.
didn't do well, at least not in theaters.
Raya was so close to being good, and it was so boring.
And
in
Kanto
execution.
was a pretty big hit, but not in theaters. That had to go to
And
Disney Plus
Kanto was
first.
huge on Disney Plus, and
But not big in
no one
theaters.
even knew it came out in theaters.
Yeah. And so Frozen 3, that's a guaranteed brand. Both those movies made $1 billion. Zootopia also made $1 billion, and then Toy Story 5
I'm surprised Zootopia 2 took this long to come out.
like to start being made.
No, like obviously it's been in the works for a while.
I don't know,
But I think it has. There is no way that they made this $1 billion furry movie and were like, oh, this prints money, make $1 billion of them.
The weirdest part about that to me was not that they didn't like immediately do a sequel. It's the fact that they didn't try to like spin it off or like franchise it.
Yeah, there's
Like-
one Disney Plus short about it.
Like normally, like they do a show like that. They do a movie like that. Sequels to animated
There's like
movies
a
take a long
show on,
time.
like, Disney
They do
Junior
like
or
a
something.
cheap 2D show on Disney Channel or whatever.
They do other things.
They
with it.
do like a crappy kids like portable 3DS game, right?
Do you
They
think-
didn't even do any of that. They just did nothing with it for like 2 years.
Do you think maybe they're saving the Zootopia brand as a sort of like a more
Like
mature,
a prestige.
yeah, like a prestige
No.
brand of their like kids programming? Because I don't know why else they
No,
would do
the
that.
real reason is that the co-director of that movie left the company, and I don't think they knew what to do with it, and so they just kind of left it
What
alone.
do you mean? It's little furry animals that live in a happy city, just like making
Yeah,
do
well,
stuff.
what do they do? Walk around?
That's what they did in the freaking the Disney Plus short. Yeah, pretty much.
And then Toy Story
You
5.
think Timothy cares if
Yeah.
freaking Lola Bunny, whatever her name is, goes around like just walking around? No, he doesn't care.
No, yeah, it was just weird. And then Frozen, yeah, we talked about Frozen. Toy Story 5, weird choice. Don't know how they're going to do that one at all.
Makes no sense.
When he abandons them at the end of Toy Story 4.
Unless they're
And they recast Buzz Lightyear.
do you think they're Borutoing Toy Story?
No.
I think they might.
I think that you can't, though.
I think you can.
No, because it's not. They're doing this because they need like guaranteed hits to make money. If you try
No,
to
I
do
know why they're doing it.
But if they try to do if you're like desperate for cash and you're gonna make another Toy Story, if you're not gonna do it with Buzz and Woody, then you're not gonna make the amount of cash you could make by coming up with a dumb reason for them to reunite.
Unless you come up with a new Buzz and Woody who can sell a new generation. Who can sell a new generation of kids new toys.
But no, the reason I know it's going to happen is because they tried to do Buzz by himself and it was a horrible failure. And so they're not. So now they have to do them both again.
Yeah,
because that's the only proven way that franchise is going to make any money. That is going to be that one's going to probably be the worst of these three.
4.
What?
4 Toy Story movies.
I mean, of the 3 projects they announced.
Oh yeah,
because that one's the most like, what do we do? I don't know.
Zootopia 2 is blatantly obvious.
That you could write in like an afternoon.
You
do that another
the
case.
Bunny and the Fox do a new mystery.
Yeah,
easy
new
mode.
Places in the city, new goofy characters. Boop bop, wrap it up. Movie.
Frozen 3, easy mode.
Frozen 3 was always going to get
Fire
made.
Princess fights Ice Princess, easy mode.
Toy Story 5. Bonnie's going to college.
Woody murders a kid. Woody goes to jail.
Oh, here, hold up. Let's merge Zootopia and Toy Story. Sam, Woody and Buzz gotta solve a murder.
Or we total change of pace.
Mm-hmm.
Toy Story takes place. Think about it. Bunny version of Woody. Bo Peep is an actual sheep this time.
But Frozen 3 will make $1 billion. Zootopia 2,
I could see it making $1 billion.
I think Zootopia 2 is going to have to actually be good. And then Toy Story 5, I feel like that's just going to be a train
Okay,
wreck.
but between Frozen...
Toy Story 5.
Hang on. Between Frozen 2, Toy Story 4, and Zootopia, which one of those movies would you rather watch?
Which ones?
Frozen 2,
Yeah.
Toy Story 4,
Mhm.
or Zootopia? Which one of those 3 is the best?
I'd probably watch Zootopia.
Yeah, Zootopia is like obviously the best of the 3. I think Zootopia has only gotten more popular since it's come out. Because
it's one of those things that just constantly stays in like the top 10 on Disney+.
Because it's genuinely good. It's genuinely good enough to keep all the adults and all of the like
kids
late kids who saw it when it first came out interested in the franchise, so they'll go back to see it when the next one comes out. But it's also a kids movie, so every kid who's been made since that movie came out is going to be kind of familiar with it as long as their parents are Disney fans.
All 3 of these movies are going to benefit from the fact that Disney Plus's main use is that parents just put Disney movies like on loop in front of their kids and then just leave the room.
Yeah.
So they're going to have built-in audiences.
I think that is one of
the
the benefits of Disney Plus existing for them is that it creates much stronger connection to Disney as a brand from young people, like children, like small children, than any Disney Channel ever has.
Yeah. And it keeps their slightly older stuff.
They stay for the Star Wars and for the Marvel and for the whatever else.
I'm saying like it keeps Zootopia like around.
Yeah, it keeps those.
So even if they're not like constantly making more movies, the fact that people are constantly going to watch
to be fair,
keeps it alive.
They could have been doing forever
if they didn't do that stupid
Disney
vault.
In their infinite galaxy brain wisdom decided to like only sell one Disney movie like a year and put the rest in this big magic vault and not sell any merchandise or any products for them ever during that time.
Absolute geniuses.
Dale, we have this backlog that goes back 30 years, right? Bunch of bangers, classic movies. Should we like sell them to people?
No.
You're getting a raise. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like,
all right, we gotta move on, though.
All right, moving on.
Sam, speaking of companies doing dumb things,
AMC, everybody's favorite theater.
Real quick, does anybody know what that stands for?
It stands for American Movie Company. Does it actually?
I gotta figure it out.
That was a guess. That was a guess.
American Multi Cinemas.
That is so much worse than what I came up with.
Yep.
Anyways,
So, in a press release on Monday, AMC, the United States' largest cinema chain,
largest in terms of they have the most theaters.
They
not
have the most
largest
theaters.
in terms of they make the most money, because they don't.
they announced that they are changing the price of its movie theater tickets under the new AMC Sightline program. Under the new initiative, the pricing of tickets within a single theater will change depending on where you sit. The seats close to the screen will be known as value seats or value sightline and will cost less than the current standard ticket price. The seats towards the middle of the theater will cost more than the average ticket price and are labeled preferred sightline. All other seats in the theaters are called standard sightline and will cost the same as they do now. So whatever you're paying for your normal AMC ticket a week ago is what all of the...
You're going to be paying double that now for change.
You'll pay more to sit in the middle, but you'll pay the same to sit in like the back left corner, right?
Is this their answer to not having reserved seats and making you pay for reserved seats? Because they do that.
These changes will be implemented into all AMC theaters by the end of the year in the United States. Elliot Hamlish, AMC CFO, justified the new system as more closely aligning with the way other event centers price their systems, such as concerts and sporting events, and will give audiences, and I quote, more control over their experience. 3 exceptions to the rule will apply to preferred sightline seats, not being an extra price. So if you go before 4 p.m., which is the matinee showings, all the tickets will be the same price as they are now. On Discount Tuesdays, which they were already doing.
Can't forget Discount Tuesdays.
So that they'll cost less as they normally do as a discount. And if you're an AMC Stubs member, which is their monthly subscription,
which you have to have, by the way, to get
which you have to reserve seats online, you won't have to pay more for preferred sightline seats if you're an AMC Stubs member. Sam, this might be the dumbest way I've seen a company try to make up for the fact that they're a dying industry.
Is your industry dying? Try classism. The new easy solution to your problems. People not buying enough movie seats? Raise the price.
So, Sam, I know what you're thinking. Isn't every other theater chain in America not doing this, therefore making it pointless to go to AMC now? Yes.
What I am most worried about...
Support your local Cinemark. They're much better than AMC.
Just in
every way, shape, and form.
But what I'm most worried about following this announcement is that other theaters do that.
Yeah.
I pray to God that this program fails, because this will ruin movie theaters if it succeeds.
Yeah. So I hate what they're doing, but I get why they're doing it. They need money. This is a way.
It's obvious why they're doing it. They're broke.
This is a way to charge more, and they are right. When you go to a concert, right? If you want to sit closer to the stage, you pay more for a ticket. If you're at a sports game, if you sit in the nosebleeds, it's way cheaper than sitting on the sideline, right?
But also,
Sam, what's the difference between a movie and being at an NFL game?
I'm going to go through a lot of things. So first off, when you're at a sports game or when you're at a concert, the closer you get to the performer or performance, the fewer seats there are. So that as you decrease supply, there's demand goes up. Economics. So those are more valuable, not only because they're closer so you can see better, complete opposite of a movie theater, but
where no matter where you sit, the angle will change, but you're never seeing less of the screen.
Well, unless you're in the most close seats, which is preferred.
No, but still.
Hang on, I'm not done. So in a concert or sporting event, there's the fewest amount of seats there, and you can see the best, making them the most optimal seats. And also, if you sit far away, you basically can't see the game.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference in the actual quality of what's happening.
Yeah.
Or the difference in quality there. When it's a movie theater, the closest seats to the screen, where there are the fewest seats, are the worst seats.
Yeah.
Because you can't see what's happening. So the fewest seats have the lowest price, and the most seats have the highest price. So it's backwards.
There is a lot of supply and a lot of demand at the same time,
which is going to cause a economic collapse.
No, it's just the movies and concerts are completely different.
The comparison of those two is
the sheer number of people at any live performance is astronomical compared to like the maybe 50 to 60 people you can sit in your average movie theater, like in a like a larger theater.
Yeah,
say in a theater in like
Nebraska.
An
IMAX theater versus
an IMAX theater can probably sit 100 and some odd people.
Probably like closer to 200 or 300.
Probably a couple hundred people in like your normal middle American state.
Because there's like
in New York,
there's like 20 seats per row, and there's like maybe it's like I think 20 or so rows. Yeah. That's like a good.
It's different for like New York and LA where they have giant theater screens because
they have the
demand is much higher.
Yeah.
But like,
oh wait, what? What'd you say? The what's much higher?
I believe the demand.
Well, the demand is much higher. So you're saying also when the demand increases, that's when you increase the supply after the demand is increased?
It makes zero sense to me what their plan is. If you want to make people go to the movie theater again, you don't make it more expensive. That if you pull people on the street, that is the number one reason they don't go to the movies. Is that movie tickets are expensive and concessions are expensive, and if there's 3 people, they're not going to pay $50 to $60 to go to a movie when they have Netflix at home. Where
you know how much this was?
Yeah,
this was $1.50. You know what the profit margins on this was? Probably around 500%. At a Cinemark, which is not AMC, the better one, a drink this size costs about $6. You know what the profit margins on that are? Way higher.
But if you want to make movie theaters better, you would make it easier to buy seats, not harder.
Not locking them behind a paywall.
Not lock it behind a paywall. Police theaters for people who are disturbing the experience of others. So if all you have to do is have a movie theater employee walk through every screening about halfway through and tell all the people who are talking and on their phones to turn their phones off and stop talking. That's all you have to do.
The problem with that is then you have to pay the employee more.
They're already there.
No, but they're not paying them enough for them to give a crap. This is the guy who lets me bring a full backpack into like every theater showing. And has only ever checked it once. And my backpack is huge.
But it's really just, you police the theaters, you make it easier to buy seats, you make it cheaper, you make them cleaner, you build more premium screens.
One benefit of COVID is that they have actually started to clean the theaters now as a result of it.
You build more premium theaters because that's what the most people want to see movies on, is on the biggest screen with the best sound.
Premium theater does not mean 3 freaking screens, Cinemark. That is a dumb idea.
ScreenX is stupid. Why are you doing
what
that?
I did figure out about ScreenX, they're not stretching the movie. They're playing like stock footage that kind of matches what's on screen.
I hate that so much.
Because one of the guys on the Trash Taste podcast,
we should do it.
He saw Avatar in ScreenX, and he was like, it's just stock footage of jungle, like when he went to see Avatar. Like, it's not even like related to the movie.
We should try it out and report back what that whole thing is. I want to try it at least once. I don't want to ever do it again.
What movies do they even show in that?
It's probably still just Avatar. And I don't want to see Avatar again.
I'll see whatever the next one is.
Yeah. Anyway, this is dumb. Stupid way to drive price. And it's not going to work now because no other theater is doing this.
No.
The only reason this even has a chance of working is that for some areas, the AMC is probably the only theater.
They're a monopoly.
Within like a 30-minute driving distance. Is that's the only one. So if they're going to go at all, they're going to have to go to that one.
This makes...
And we're in a time where if you don't want to go to the theater, you have 850 different entertainment options on your phone alone.
Don't even get me started on a freaking iPad.
Why would you make it harder and more expensive and more cumbersome?
Their job is to beat the convenience and quality of a phone.
Nobody's going to know that they're doing this until they get there. And then they'll be like, I'm not paying more. Why would I do that? And then they'll just leave.
And they'll go to a Cinemark.
It's so dumb.
Or a Studio Movie Grill.
It's not going to work. It's so...
You know how bad you have to be to make Studio Movie Grill look better than you?
Oh my God, you have to be so bad.
You have to be so bad.
Like me hosting strangers in this room, screening like old Columbo
if
episodes
I brought my sound...
is probably a better experience than going to Studio
If I
Movie
bring
Grill.
my sound bar and we play like a movie from 2010 in here, that's a better experience than 90% of
Studio Movie Grill.
Studio Movie Grill theaters.
Studio Movie Grill is gross. Don't go to Studio Movie Grill. If you work at Studio Movie Grill, quit out of
Stop
protest.
doing birthday parties there. Do them at any other theater.
Stop going there anytime you have more than like 2 people with you.
Don't do that. Stop it.
Also, why does all of their food taste like smell like vomit?
Probably because the freaking, like, Jerry, the guy cooking it, keeps puking because he's
There's
drunk every day.
nothing more annoying in the entire world than trying to watch a movie and at the same time there's a guy 2 seats down ordering 7 hamburgers.
The last movie I saw in Studio Movie Grill, at least to my memory, I saw the Jujutsu Kaisen movie. That doesn't count. The last real movie I saw in Studio Movie Grill was Army of the Dead. And there was a guy next to me, obviously a Zack Snyder fan, wearing the smelliest cologne I've ever smelled.
Are you sure it was cologne?
Yes, I'm sure it was cologne.
Or did he just smell?
No, he was like this skinny little goth boy. Like he was, and he had his emo anime girlfriend with him. He smelled. He had some kind of like bourbon scented cologne. Awful. That was honestly worse than Army of the Dead. You know what you have to do to be worse than Army of the Dead? All right, anyway, moving on. What's our next thing?
Ooh. You know what the worst part of Studio Movie Grill is? Is they try to be a bar, a restaurant, and a movie theater at the same time, and they're bad at all
all of them.
Like, they've managed to fail at being all three.
They managed to do none of them.
Their hallways are pitch dark.
Why?
And then the theaters are super bright. They have like 1,000,000 lights on the floor.
They just like don't understand what a movie theater is.
And even if you order food when you're there, they bring it to you after the movie started, so you can't see what you're eating. And so you can't see what you're eating.
God forbid you require ketchup.
There's just a perpetual barf stench that pollutes. It's just sitting in front of you, just like simmering in its own juices.
You can't see where the ketchup is, and you spill it everywhere, and then your drink is in this weird... They don't have cup holders.
No, they don't have cup holders.
Why don't they have cup holders?
And they don't use like the plastic like paper.
They're like thick plastic mugs.
They're like full plastic like glasses you get at like a mid-sized Italian restaurant.
No, it's not even. It's like a faux mug made of plastic.
Last time I was there, it was like if you went to like an Italian place
that is nearby, it's that kind of
and
cup.
You order, it's like that, and there's no cup holder, and
the cups have lids, no cup holder.
So you order like
and
a
they
Sprite,
don't have lids,
and they bring you like a 64-ounce giant plastic cup with a straw, and they just like sit it on your tray and then leave.
There you go. There's your burger. Bye.
It's the worst, and I hate. I don't
okay,
know
next thing. Let's move
All
on.
right.
Justin Roiland is.
We're running out of
still
time.
Dying.
And I want to get to Nintendo before we leave. The Hollywood Reporter published an article titled "Inside the Implosion of Justin Roiland's Animation Empire" by Lacey Rose and Katie Kilkenny.
Katie Kilkenny, that's that name.
Kilkenny, I think, is actually how you pronounce it. I had a big summary written, but we don't have time to get through it all. I do recommend you read the whole article.
Just give us the Cliff Notes
for yourself. But basically, the gist of it is, before all of the stuff with Roiland's being fired, there have been behind-the-scenes issues going on for years. He hasn't been active in the creative process of Rick and Morty since like season 2. Basically, what was happening is that
Roiland has a pattern of inappropriate and odd behavior, which included parading a high-profile porn star around the Rick and Morty office and openly discussing threesomes in front of the staff. What?
So basically what happened is that when the show first launched, it was Justin Roiland and his buddies and Dan Harmon writing it.
Yeah.
And so he had a lot of fun. And then season 2...
For context, Justin Roiland's only written 9 of the episodes.
So we'll get to it in a second. But and then season 2 rolled around. The show started to become a bigger hit. Dan Harmon, who of course is a more experienced TV writer, brought in a lot of people from Community onto the show, and they were more like structured and like, okay, we got to meet this deadline. The story has to track.
We got to, make a cohesive show.
And Justin Roiland and his like few remaining buddies were like, ha, look, it's a penis with a face. And that's essentially like the gist of what they were contributing. And slowly, like all of his pals left until it was just like Dan Harmon's actual group of television writers with brains. And Justin Roiland, it's reported that he was literally sitting so far away from the rest of the group that they would write stuff on the whiteboard, and he had a pair of binoculars that he would look to read what they were writing.
Is he a cartoon character? Does he know he lives in the real world?
And then stuff escalated in season 3. That was the first season with female writers, and he basically just harassed them constantly.
That's good.
Yeah, cartoon.
Oh yeah, so for recontextualizing the porn star thing, that was during season 3.
Yeah,
the first season with female writers.
So yeah, basically, and then that also as the rift in the writers' room became more apparent, him and Dan Harmon's relationship started to deteriorate. So, and there was even an investigation by Cartoon Network into the staff and what was happening at the show, but nobody really knows what actions were taken after that, if there were any at all. It has also been revealed that Roiland has not been active in the creative aspects of any of his series for multiple years, with employees rarely hearing from him. So he's really involved in 3 animated series, or was: Rick and Morty on Adult Swim, Solar Opposites on Hulu, and Koala Man on Hulu, which came out.
Started airing.
Yeah. Some of the crew on Solar Opposites and Koala Man have never even met him. Like, he didn't even Zoom with them.
Good.
They've never met him in the entire time he's worked for that show. And
that's what a real creator
and Solar
does.
Opposites has been going for like 3 seasons now. He hasn't been on speaking terms with Rick and Morty co-creator Dan Harmon for multiple years.
Jeez.
Yeah. So basically what started happening is during season 3, he pretty much just stopped showing up to work at all.
Just like sent his voice lines in
if
via
he
email.
Did, he wouldn't tell anyone. People would only know he was there because he was playing with a remote control car in his office, and he would zoom the remote control car around just to like annoy people and distract them.
He's like an actual like 12-year-old.
Yeah. When he did show up to work, he basically just would go to like the local toy store and buy toys, and then just like distract himself and the other writers all day and get 0 work done.
He's like an actual 12-year-old. He's like an adult man with a 12-year-old brain.
And the other thing he would do is he would show up with famous people. So it gave 3 examples of people he showed up to with just to parade around the office. Was Kanye West. Very cool human being.
Very normal guy, Kanye West.
Yep, reasonable thoughts, not a Nazi. The Impractical Jokers and porn star Riley Reid.
All people who are
so just
people.
A-list. Just the cream of the crop.
Just the only the what's the word? Echelon? Only
the highest echelon.
Yeah, the highest echelon of society going through the Rick and Morty office.
And then
over there.
He also started randomly texting vulgar comments to female staff members late at night.
Oh, that's good. That's the sign of a healthy relationship.
His
with
feud
women.
with Dan Harmon got so bad that the 70 episode order that Adult Swim put in May 2018 took way longer than expected to actually go through, because they literally were refused to sit in the same room together.
You don't say.
Yeah. It's in recent years, Roiland has almost completely separated himself completely. He only voices the characters at his home. He refuses to take any direction. So basically, he just they send him the script. He records the voices,
and they just have to deal with it.
It is how it is, and he just sends it back. Similar situations involving meetings at other shows. he was a part of, or press interviews, he would either not show up, say he was going to, and then bail like an hour before they were supposed to do it, or he would show up and he would be drunk.
So Rick and Morty season 6 is actually looking like it might be the best season.
So what it looks like is the show has been acting without him for
functionally since its first season,
since really like its entire run at this point. So I said this when he was fired. The writing of the show is not going to decrease in quality because of this, because he was not involved in that at all.
And you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say the voice acting is probably going to be better too,
because they'll be able to give him
direction.
Yeah, this is just absolutely inappropriate, childish behavior, and you can tell he was a weirdo. If you ever saw any interviews or videos with him in it, he's kind of a weird perv. So
he's kind of just a creepy dude.
Honestly, I'm gonna go out on a limb. Good, he was fired. I think is good. This is just like rancid
at
behavior.
This point, I don't think that they even fired him really for the controversy. I think that just gave them the public reason that they needed.
And now they can...
I would go out on a limb to say they were looking to get rid of him for a while.
Yeah.
And that just gave them...
You have to.
That gave them the final kick in the pants to go ahead and get
Rick
it
and
over
Morty
with.
is a multi-million-dollar IP that they own.
Yeah.
And the man had tied himself to the franchise, and he was horrible to work with in any capacity. And now you can actually separate him and still manage to make stuff without him, which opens up millions of dollars in revenue that you couldn't do before.
Dan Harmon sure does know how to pick actors, doesn't he?
Well, him and Justin Roiland created the show together.
I know, but I'm saying like there's Chevy Chase,
yeah,
and now Justin.
And Dan Harmon himself is also a guy who's had controversies in the past.
Yeah,
even
maybe
when he was on Community.
Maybe if he'd stopped making incest episodes, he'd have less controversies.
He got in trouble at Community because he was harassing a female writer on that show.
Just let the writers write. Leave them alone. Stop.
Yeah, but I do recommend you read that whole article. It's from the Hollywood Reporter. It's pretty interesting. It's a deep dive into like the whole history of the show in general, and really it's a key to how messed up it's been from the start. I would say morale probably improves now that he's gone.
Yeah, I would say that's what I'm saying. I think season 6 or 6 or 7 that we're on.
I think
5 was the last one.
I think they're doing 6 right now.
I think whatever the next season is going to be the best season.
Oh, no, it's 7. Yeah, no, it's 7.
I think season 7 is going to be the best season of Rick and Morty.
And then, I don't know about his other shows. I haven't seen them, but
Solar
doubt
Opposites
they'll be any worse.
is just Rick and Morty, so that one will probably get better.
From what I've seen, that's probably correct.
The main character of Solar Opposites is a super smart scientist.
It was
alien.
never worth keeping him on because he could do 2 voices. He does 2.
He goes, "Hey, Morty, we gotta go, dude, you gotta shove it in your butt, Morty." And then Morty goes, "Oh, geez, oh, man, oh, Rick, oh, no, I don't know, that seems kind of like a weird idea, Rick, oh, geez." And that's all he does.
You should audition to be the new voiceover.
I could replace.
Let's move on. We got one more thing, Sam.
Big talk. It's time to get the big boy shoes on, the big farty news pants.
Sam, are you a fan of Nintendo games?
Oh boy, how
do you love it? Do you love Nintendo Directs?
I love like 3 of the franchises and
tolerate the rest
of the other
of them.
I'm all right about. I'm just gonna pull up an article.
So the Nintendo Direct happened today. It was, as with most Nintendo Directs, there was like 4 important things and then a bunch of just nonsense. I would argue there are 2 important things. Oh, you're going as far as to say 2. Ooh,
2 that I like. 2 that I like. Okay, 1 that I actually care about, 1 that I might interact with, and the rest I don't care.
I'd say I didn't watch the whole thing. Oh, okay, we'll get to it. Okay. So there was.
I just want a list.
That's what I want.
Oh, but that's Nintendo. I want a news article that just tells me what everything was. I don't want to hear Nintendo.
But Nintendo was the one who did it.
I know, but they never just give me a list. I want just a list of the things they announced.
Just now, Nintendo.
I don't know. I know how to watch it. It's on YouTube.
Sam, did you know that you can watch Nintendo Direct by going to YouTube? Okay. So, look, they've even tagged the 4 actual important things.
They do have it. They do.
Okay, so they started off with Pikmin 4 full trailer. Does look like more Pikmin. Sure is pretty though.
Boy, howdy, is this a Pikmin game?
I like they're introducing a dog.
There's a little bug dog.
I like the dog.
He's got 2 legs, though. Which
There's
is
new
kinda weird
Pikmin.
looking.
There's ice Pikmin now.
That's good.
So
I
they
like
can
that.
freeze enemies in lakes and stuff. That's cool.
If I had ever played a Pikmin game, I might care more.
It doesn't look like a radical change for the amount of time it's been since Pikmin 3.
I don't think people were expecting a radical change.
Oh, well, not even like a but like it doesn't. The game, like maybe there is more stuff, but from the looks of
Well, they've changed the
it
camera
looks like
angle.
more Pikmin. And
They've
that's
changed
about
the
it.
camera angle.
Yeah, you're now closer to the Pikmin to the captain.
And because of that, I think it's going to be a more fast-paced game. Since it's
Maybe
when
little.
you bring the camera down and close like that, it has to be because you can't strategize because you can't see the whole battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be more focused on what's in front of you. So I think it's going to be a more fast-paced game. But other than that, it's just Pikmin.
It's the same old. And it looks, but I'll give them credit, it does look really good.
It looks so
the graphics, that was the theme of today's show, was good graphics.
great graphics even.
Okay, and then they went into the Splatoon 3 DLC.
Nope, not that yet. They went into the Xenoblade 3
We can
DLC.
we can just speed run. We'll
Well,
talk
hang
about
on.
the important stuff and then we'll
I want to just say what the name of it is, though. It's the Xenoblade 3 Volume 3 Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Expansion Pass DLC. That's the name of the thing.
That is too long.
That's too many words. I don't care about Xenoblade.
No.
Next.
And
next
they,
thing.
I know the dumbest part of the Xenoblade announcement was they were like, and then Wave 4 will be this.
Okay.
And then I'm thinking of Fire Emblem.
Oh, it was this too.
The theme of today.
They announced that there will be a Wave 4.
the theme of today's show was
is expansion
DLCs.
Yeah.
Because Xenoblade, they talked about they were doing like a whole DLC campaign, and then Fire Emblem Engage, they went through like every single. They're doing like 6 waves of extra content, and they went through every single one, and then they were like, and Wave 2 comes out next week, and we're not talking about the rest. Okay, bye. So they went in like extreme detail about all these waves of DLC, and then only gave a release window to one of them.
Yeah. And then next we had Shake It Up, Amigo,
Which looks dumb.
which is a Just Dance clone.
It's a dumb kids
We
game.
had Turn Your Fashion Dreams into Reality. The game is called Fashion Dreams. It is a glorified character creator.
And then they did another highlight reel of Dark Worlds. Dead Cells is getting like I can't tell if it's a DLC
No, so it's a new
or
game.
a full game.
It's a
crossover with Castlevania.
It's a Dead Cells style remake of Castlevania,
yeah, which
which looks really cool.
again graphically looks amazing. Idea wise, I'm into it. Castlevania's neat. I'm glad it's making a comeback in some form.
It's cool that they're kind of letting someone else do it since they won't do it.
Since Konami just refuses to make things people enjoy.
The next,
But that one, I think that one I'll buy.
that one
Especially if
I'll
it's
wait.
less than like $20 or $30, I'll definitely try
I'll wait
that one
and
out.
see if it's on Game Pass. I might.
And then they did a Tron like story game,
Yeah, which is weird.
which we talked about when it was announced like a couple years
Yeah,
ago.
and we were like, why?
Why? But it's a thing.
Okay, cool. Bayonetta's
And then they did-
origin
yeah.
story. So they announced the name of the game, which I believe is Syriza and the Lost Demon,
Something like that.
something like that. Actually looks a lot more interesting than it did when they first announced it. It looks to me like they're borrowing a lot of mechanics from Astral Chain. Because they have this whole gimmick of like she can't actually fight, but she controls the monster, but she can lock down the enemies so the monster can beat them up, which is straight up what you do in Astral Chain.
And then they did a crappy
fine, 'cause that
Mickey
game's
Mouse
really good.
platformer.
Yeah, well, okay, I don't think it's crappy. I think it's just not for us. I think
Who
it's for
cares?
littler kids. I don't really care though.
And
Fire
then-
Emblem Engage is getting some DLC.
I don't know what Charmony is, or was it Harmony?
Harmony is a story-based game.
I don't
It's like
care.
a story-based text game, something like that.
And then let's see, Rock
another-
and Roll. What was
Another
that?
little
Octopath Traveler 2 is happening. That was just to remind you that's.
just to
Oh,
remind
and they're
you-
doing another one of those like 8-hour demos. Oh, they're re-releasing, they're redoing We Love Katamari reroll plus Royal Reverie. So they did Katamari Damacy reroll like a few years ago. They're doing that for the follow-up, which is We Love Katamari.
which is fine. Katamari games
I know
are fun.
those games have a lot of fans.
Yeah.
So.
And they're like fun
for
little
them.
games. Like I'm glad those are coming to the Switch. Advance Wars finally coming out
Yeah, finally getting a date. It got delayed because of the war in
whole
Ukraine.
thing going on.
Yeah.
Which Nintendo, this game is not that is like a cartoon.
They delayed it because it was supposed to come out like the week after that all went down. So I get
I get the thought behind it, but I don't think anyone would have compared those two things if they didn't bring it up.
I get delaying it like when the conflict first broke out.
Yeah,
because you don't want to draw attention from that travesty into like another like war themed game. Where war is
that's
fun
a bad
and cool.
look for you. Yeah.
Why now? They delayed it like a full like year and a half, which is kind of absurd. They probably should have just delayed it like a few months.
I don't think they knew. I think
they thought it would have settled in a few weeks.
I think they thought
Yeah.
that this was just going to blow over.
Yeah.
And I think that it spiraled into something much larger and much worse.
Yeah.
And so they just decided, okay, we'll just shelve this for now. It's ready. We can throw it up when we want to throw it up.
And then they went into Kirby's Dream Land. Deluxe.
Okay.
The remake. It's getting a mini story add-on campaign, which is fun and cool. It's another reason
guess
to buy
what
the game.
franchise
It looks really cool. Looks neat.
I don't care though. It's Kirby.
And then probably the biggest
Okay, so this is my
game announcement.
This is my second biggest thing. This is the one that I might actually care about.
Metroid Prime.
Metroid Prime got a remaster, and it looks
really good.
Great. It looks amazing. Like genuinely,
the trailer,
the graphics look crazy.
They shadow dropped it on Switch.
Out of all the companies that like show trailers and then don't deliver on them,
yeah,
Nintendo was really good about that. I can't recall in recent memory when they showed a trailer of a game and the game looked worse than the trailer. Like even Pokemon, the trailers look bad and the game ended up not being good.
I can't find who did the port, but yeah, it looks amazing.
It looks crazy good. My guess is that this game is an engine test for Metroid Prime 4, which is coming out.
It exists for two purposes. One is because they needed to remind everybody, because Metroid Prime is not... What are you doing? Because Metroid Prime is a serialized story. Like there's 1, 2, and 3.
It's like an ongoing.
Like you have
story.
to know what happened in Metroid Prime 2 to play Metroid Prime 3.
Yeah, like it actually the story matters.
And they're doing this to like remind everyone what happened in at least the first game.
Yeah, it's not like the regular Metroid games where they kind of each are their own thing.
Yeah. And you need to be able to play it on a modern gen system. And then this level of graphics is what Metroid Prime 4 will look like. And probably whatever adjustments they make to the control style is how it'll control Metroid Prime 4. So Metroid Prime is kind of famous for its strange use of like the first-person FPS stuff. So in the original Metroid Prime, you moved Samus's like viewpoint and her weapon as two separate entities. And the game was less focused on like actually like shooting, gunning down enemies.
It was more like the mystery,
and more like scanning methodically and doing platforming.
Yeah, it was more like the mystery of the situation.
And then Metroid Prime Trilogy on Wii and also Metroid Prime 3 controlled with the motion controls.
Yeah,
so you moved her gun using the Wiimote.
My guess is it'll be a hybrid thing, kind of like they did with Zelda, where when you're in handheld mode, you use the sticks, and when it's in TV mode, you use the thing.
I hope it's an option. But I also hope they just include like standard FPS control.
Worst case scenario, you use the Pro Controller.
Where you tilt the stick up and your head goes up and the gun goes up at the same time.
Yeah. Well, and again...
That would be preferable for me.
Nintendo nowadays, you can control... Like, you can remap your controls and stuff like that. Yeah. Back then, you couldn't do that.
But Nintendo was famous for locking you to uncomfortable play styles just for the sake of their
just because they said so. Yeah, I'm excited for this.
They talked about 3 random JRPGs that no one cares about.
When I finish Nier, and when I finish Link's Awakening, and when I finish, there's a third one I don't remember. then I will play this.
Sam, the difference between you and me is I'll just start playing a game even though I didn't finish the last one.
And I have to do it before Zelda comes out, because when that comes out, I won't play anything else.
Yeah, and then they talked about JRPGs that I could literally not remember the name of if you told it to me 300 times.
Yeah, there's lots of them.
And then they announced that
Yoshi's Island thing coming to Deluxe.
they're doing the next wave of Mario Kart 4, or the next wave
Wave
of Mario
4,
Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass, which I believe dropped today.
I believe it's shadow dropped. And then
the theme was Yoshi stuff.
and then
And they added They added Birdo?
yeah, they added Birdo, but
I
only
thought
if
we
you-
were only adding tracks.
Nope. They
They're
changed their
just
mind.
doing Mario Kart 9 in Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, they are. They changed their mind.
By the way, I finally bought the course pass.
Oh goody.
All
right, big boy time. Big boy, big
Not a big
thing.
fan of the fact that for the tour tracks they just because on Mario Kart Tour you could take separate routes, right?
The mobile game?
Yeah, most of the
No.
courses they've remastered are from Tour.
No, the mobile game you couldn't.
Is that not a thing?
No, you were locked to the one path, and it was really annoying because you didn't have any shortcuts. Like, you couldn't cut your friends, and that's like
Okay, because on the remaster there's just giant areas that look like you would be able to race on them, and big red arrows that just
that's how the mobile game is.
Why did they design it like that? Okay, well then I just hate the course design. But the courses from the older mainline games that aren't Tour, really good.
Good, great, because they were already
Probably
good.
because the Tour team was really bad at their jobs.
Well, I don't think they were bad at their jobs. I think that's just a different style of game.
Yeah.
I don't think it adapts as well.
Yeah, they probably shouldn't.
I think it's cool that they did. I wish that they would develop those tracks a little bit more.
I know they only did it because they needed a certain number of tracks, and Tour had 1 million tracks.
That and the tour tracks are already in HD.
Yeah, and they just
So
had
they
to up-res them.
Well, they didn't have to upscale them. They were already in HD.
Yeah,
They just had to put them in the other game.
The Nintendo DS tracks you have to completely rebuild from.
You have to
3D.
remake those.
Yeah, but to where you just
Tour, you just
boop, bop, done.
copy paste, good to go. All right, but let's talk about the big chungus.
Oh, buddy, am
They're-
I excited for Zolder?
I want game so bad. Give me the Zelda. Hit me with that Zelda mode.
Wow, look, it's rain.
The thunder. Oh, it's so. I want the sound on. Screw it.
We're gonna
Screw
get
monetization.
copied.
I don't care.
So we start off.
Give me
It's a
this.
sad time in Zelda
Where'd the
Land,
remote? Where'd the remote? Go?
aka Hyrule.
Hit that sound mode.
We got it. This is my.
Look, the dragons are
We got-
flying around.
Those are new enemies, right?
Those are new enemies. Okay, so
big dragon lizard
what
frogs.
happened? I think we'll see it later. I'll give you my theories later. But yeah, those are new enemies, sort of. What's this?
We got
What's that? What's this?
We got a Y.
What's
we got
that? That's a tower. But
that's
it's
the
different. What's
we got the
this?
towers from the first game or from Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
They got big glowy lights under them. Don't know what's
glowy
going on there.
towers.
It looks there's a big pile of neon green sludge.
I want to touch the sludge.
And then there's a big light coming out of what I
Different
think
tower.
is either a different tower or this might be a mountain. I think it might be. Is this Hyrule Castle or is that just a hill?
That is, I believe, Mount Doom. Or
Okay.
Mount, whatever the mountain is.
Mount Doom.
Whatever, it's the same thing.
Lord of the
It's the same
Rings.
mountain. Oh, they can't. I think those are just the towers. I think the towers have been
Yeah, the
reworked.
towers. Something's happened to the towers. That's an excuse for you to reactivate all. Of them.
Reactivate all of them. Mhm. Oh, you know what? Princess Zelda will be like, oh, we've made some modifications to the towers, but they need to be activated before they're fully functional.
Yeah.
Go to every tower and turn them on. That'll be their excuse for why they don't work yet.
I'm pause the video.
Let's go Zelda mode.
More lightning. More rain.
So cool. I like the
Love
lightning.
rain.
Cliffs. We got
This is one of the
cliffs.
sky islands.
You can see down there. That's either a guardian or a shrine. I'm not sure
I
which.
think it's a guardian. There looks like.
And then this blue stuff. That's like usually like the magic stuff. Like
that's like the Sheikah energy or
yeah.
whatever.
So I don't know why that's floating around. I guess we'll find out.
I think it's because that whatever that kind of magic is.
Okay, so we got a bunch of new enemy types here. So the Lizalfos. Look at this video is so low resolution. I'm gonna find the YouTube. What timestamp are we at? 25. Come here, YouTube. Show me the
Better.
real.
Dead air. Everybody loves some dead air.
Well, it's only dead air if you say it is. You could fill it with
Dead
something.
air is cool.
Just say words
It's
that aren't
the Dead
that.
Air song.
That's not a good song to sing for this
No,
part.
Everyone loves the dead air song.
They don't like it. Comment in the chat.
Comment
if
in
you
the
hate it.
comment in the chat.
Comment in the chat if you hate Tucker.
Oh no!
And his stupid
That'll
song.
be the only time we ever get any comments.
It's just gonna be Patrick going, "I hate Tucker."
I hate Tucker.
All right, 25 seconds in. Dude, it's close enough. Oh, that looks so much.
I mean, it looks about
It,
okay.
yeah.
So-
So this Bokoblin's got a backpack on.
It looks like the Moblins, Bokoblins, and what are they called? Lysalos?
Those
or
are
something?
Lizalfos.
Zolfos. It looks like they're mostly going to be the same. They're just going to have more
And there's
health
some blue
'cause
fire
They
stuff,
have armor.
which it looks like you can interact with or collect, or like wisps.
And there's a spooky, mean voice.
There's a three-headed dragon chilling here.
on that bridge where you get the Great Flame Blade.
I'm gonna go back again. No, that's not. That's the different bridge.
Is that a different bridge? But
That's
it's on
the
a bridge.
one. That's the one that the lightning dragon comes out of, like by that lake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
So that's the big long.
So
bridge.
there's a new dragon who's smaller and got three
And
heads,
he's
and
got
they're
three
on
heads
fire.
and he looks evil. There's a evilly sounding monologue. There's the mountain with Ganon stuff coming out.
Yeah.
Something creepy's going on there.
And there's Ganon stuff coming out of the bottom of Hyrule
Yeah.
Castle, and some little green fire.
Or green gunk.
Okay, pause.
Okay,
What is that? What do you think that is?
that is related in
the big
some way
sky
to
islands?
the arm,
Ooh.
because that's the same stuff.
Because he's got a magic Winter Soldier arm.
Yeah, he's got a magic Winter Soldier arm, and also in the
Also-
temple.
Tower.
Remember in the first trailer, there's the corpse, there's the thing,
Yeah.
and there's the green swirly stuff. That gives you whatever the first ability the arm has.
Oh.
And that gives you.
You know what
another-
that is? That's a shrine. If you
I
look
think
closely,
it's a shrine,
That's a shrine.
but I think it's a different kind of shrine. Wait,
Well, they're going to be changed, but if you look, that's...
is that where the shrine is?
I don't think so, but it might have
'Cause
moved.
This is
That's, what's it called?
Hateno Village.
Hiteno, yeah.
Yeah. That's the workshop that the scientist guy
Yeah.
was in, and his like weird like tiny girlfriend. Down
think
there,
that is
down
where the
there's where your
shrine-
house is.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a shrine there.
No, that is where the shrine is.
No, remember there wasn't one there because I took the medallion and I put it in my house because there was no shrine there. That like village.
There is a shrine in
There is
Hiteno.
one, but it's like kind of far away from where your house is because
Hmm.
your house is like over there. They might have like, adjusted it.
I
or
think
something,
that
I
is
don't know.
where the shrine is. I think that is the shrines, though.
Yeah,
There's the
they might
green
be have
misty
the
stuff.
green stuff. Okay, is it Blood Moon all the time now?
I think so.
Because if so, that's gonna make the game a
No,
lot
but the
harder.
game takes place at the daytime in the other trailers we've seen.
I think that's just the day-night cycle. I think it might be maybe at nighttime they do that every
I mean,
night.
I think maybe every night is Blood Moon. I don't know.
that would be really hard.
But there is some... It's going to be harder. For sure.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Otherwise, what
6
are we doing here?
6 years. We got to
We had a lot of time to get good.
Yeah.
All right, and all his gear is new, by the way. So,
yeah. Oh, well, that's expected.
so he doesn't have the Master Sword anymore,
No.
which is interesting.
He's going to lose it
'Cause he
again and
should-
then get it back.
Yeah, but we don't know why it's gone at the moment. That bow is
Oh,
different.
wait. No, wait. Is that the Master Sword?
No, it's like one of the rusted
It's got the
swords.
wings, though.
Oh, but see the tip of the sword. Remember in the other trailer, the tip of the sword's like broken in half? And half of it's the green stuff?
Okay.
Yeah, that's not the Master Sword. His cape is the same. Pants and ish.
Well, he's only got so many
That's
pairs of
interesting.
pants to wear. So.
Okay.
Apple goes,
Go
but
away,
you want
Apple. Shish, shish.
Love Apple. Love you, Apple.
Okay, so this...
Who's the voice? Who
Yeah.
do you think the voice
So,
is?
there's evil stuff coming out of the moon.
The moon is shooting calamity balls.
Is the moon got a bad guy on it?
This would be the second time in Zelda history the moon's got a bad guy on it.
What was the first time it got a bad guy?
When the moon was the bad guy in Majora's Mask and it had a
But
big
that
mean
wasn't
face.
the real moon. That was a different moon.
But it still there's precedent. There's a big moon with a big scary
But
face on it.
that wasn't like even that was underground. That was a different moon.
True, but it's still a moon. Also,
Yeah.
isn't it like all fake and a metaphor for death or whatever?
Yeah, he's dead in that game. Anyway, yeah, this is I don't know what's going on here. I'm a little bit I don't know what's
Shooting
up.
enemies out of it.
Okay, so
It's
this
very upset.
so they're gonna show in a second, but these things hit enemies and turn them into different enemies, I think.
Oh.
So I think the new enemy types are like, yeah, see, they're getting like evolved by the moon juice.
Coin that term.
Moon juice. Yeah,
Moon
see, they're
juice.
like
They all have
see,
armor
this
now.
guy's got a different mouth.
And they got glowy eyes.
And that one's new. That one's different.
I
That
think
guy's new.
That's just a Bokoblin, Sam.
No,
That's very
that's a
obviously
Bokoblin.
a Bokoblin.
Like that one's not.
I think that's
That
just
guy's got a
moblin with
spiky
hat.
head.
The moblin with a hat.
Why is he?
Definitely
Oh, yeah,
a moblin
yeah,
with a
he's
hat.
Well, no, it's a moblin with like a weird
That's
head.
new though.
Yeah, this guy's new. That's a
Big
freaking
big troll man.
pig guy.
He's
riding
got the
Epona.
horse. Epona better come back. Okay.
Okay, we got.
This is the tower. From what you go back one frame.
Go back one frame.
Okay, we'll go back a second.
Go back one frame.
Go back
like
one
that's
frame.
an option on YouTube.
Okay. I think this is the
There's
lab.
a cable on here. Yeah,
I think this is one of the labs.
I think this is
And this is
the
you
lab
getting
in
your
Hiteno.
upgrade.
This is the lab in Hiteno,
Or the other one where I don't remember.
or the other one that's like
the other
on
one that's at like the top of the
yeah,
map.
it's in like the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's one of those two, and he's getting some kind of Sheikah
upgrade. This is how you're gonna upgrade your arm to get more Sheikah powers.
Either that or there's some other ability.
Because I think we're done with the slate. I think we're just doing all of it. All comes from the arm
Well,
now.
how are they going to do the map and stuff?
Hologram.
As an Apple Watch?
Well, his arm is like
His
magic now.
His arm is an Apple Watch?
Yeah, why not? His arm can like manipulate
I mean,
time.
he had an iPad in the last one. I guess an Apple Watch isn't
Sam, this man has an iPad and a motorcycle. An Apple Watch is not that far off.
Just wait till you see what he has in the last
I
part of the
know.
trailer. All right. But yeah. So there's a better look at the... Oh, come on. Why are you doing this to me?
They gotta make you go. You gotta pay close attention. Pay attention, Sam.
Okay, so we get a better look of Pigman.
Oh,
Pig
he's
Dude.
the big Bokoblin. He's daddy. Well, I guess bigger
he's
than
Big
Moblin?
Chungus.
He's Big Chungus.
And then we got the little Bokoblins. Notice they got horns now. They're horny. Not
Uh-oh.
like not that kind.
No.
Different. Regular. They actually have horns. So yeah, that's cool. Where did the sound go? His gliders got little tails now. Not super important, but it looks
most
cool.
of it. Okay, there's a pterodactyl carrying a Bokoblin.
So yeah, okay, and this is
That's I know where that is.
yeah,
That's
you
the
know
big
where this
fake
is. So
mushroom
the
place.
map I'm assuming is going to remain mostly unchanged,
Mostly the same.
save for the big chunks that are being ripped out.
Enemy camps will be moved, chunks will be ripped out, and shrines will move.
And I don't even know if because notice all the sky stuff's over there. So I'm thinking it's going to be primarily like the middle of the map that gets ripped up. I think it's like the Hyrule field that is mostly destroyed. I think the rest is going to be mostly the same, which I don't really have a problem with that because I love the Breath of the Wild. So
Again, pterodactyl carrying a Bokoblin.
and he's got an axe.
Yep.
He didn't have that before. That's new.
Look, there's two of them.
Yeah, there's a little squad of them. Cool.
More
Yeah, so
moblins with
they
big
got
spiky
big
hats.
spiky helmets on now. That's interesting.
Box robot
Minecraft Steve making an appearance. I was not expecting
is fighting Daemon Ex Machina.
Was not expecting a Steve cameo in the new Zelda game.
Yeah, big magic robot was not.
Fine
And
with that.
this is where the trailer just goes off the rails. By the way,
This is when I get to the
I
point
was
where
like,
I'm
"What? We're doing
uh-huh.
robots now?" And then keep
What's
going.
going on? Well, we did robots before,
But
like,
not like humanoid giant box robots.
well, yeah, they weren't made. Well, I think these are like blocks that are like magically put together. I think this is a golem, not like a robot.
Yeah, something like that.
Because notice they're like janky and.
And
jiggly.
then Hyrule Castle.
So
is
we have
floating.
this like corpse man, like
Or it's obviously Ganon.
but it doesn't look anything like Ganon did in the last game at all.
Who else is it though?
They can make new villains.
No. Remember? Okay, here's what it is. You know how Ganon gave up his physical form so he could be the big scary cloud? This is his physical form.
This is what's left of him.
This
his
is
remains.
this was the corpse that was abandoned. So this was decomposing like while Ganon was still alive. While Ganon was the big giant dragon.
Well, but
this was his physical body that he
no,
completely
because
abandoned.
when he became before he was a big pig man, he was like a spider monster. Do you remember the first part of the boss fight?
No, he was a pig man.
That was only in the second part. In the first, he turns into a giant like boar, yes, but he starts off as a creepy spider thing with like a laser arm and a sword arm and a big spider butt.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. I'm saying like Ganon, like normal Ganon, like original Ganon, like Zelda 1 Ganon, who was just like a mean guy, right?
Yeah.
When he gave up his physical form to become like Calamity itself, and he gave up
But that was
reincarnation. This is his actual physical body that he gave up.
no. He was still Spider Ganon before he gave up his physical form. He gave up his physical form and then turned into the boar monster. Spider Ganon was still regular Ganon. He just looked creepy.
I don't think it's right.
That's what they says in the game.
I'm
I'm going off the information
Okay.
we have. You're making stuff up.
not making stuff up. Okay, Sam, we all know in Zelda, right? We got our 3 characters.
Uh-huh.
We got Ganon, we got Link, we got Zelda.
Uh-huh.
They always reincarnate, right?
Sure, but not anymore.
Not
Continue.
Ganon doesn't, but he will be able to at the end of this game because we got to keep making more Zelda games.
Well, or they'll just change it or do something else.
Ganon was always like a physical pig monster man, and then he was Ganondorf, right?
Yes.
I don't think in Breath of the Wild he was always a big purple goop man.
Unless this is Demise.
I don't think they're going to work that in.
Why not?
I think the expectation that they're going with is that probably the most of the people playing this game are really only familiar with Breath of the Wild. So I don't think
I think that was the assumption
other than
until they released the remake.
Other than little references and Easter eggs and stuff that's always there, like the Master Sword and the Triforce, right? They're really not going to go like, remember Demise from Skyward Sword?
How many games actually explain the story of Zelda?
Like none of them.
2 of them. And which ones are those? Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild. Those are the only ones, because they made up the lore when Skyward Sword came out.
Ocarina of Time is more important than Breath of the Wild was.
The actual but that was like retrofitted into it. That wasn't originally the intention.
No, because it was supposed to be linear, and then they went crazy.
Skyward Sword is the one that like explains all the lore.
Yeah.
And Skyward Sword came out, and then Breath of the Wild came out immediately after that. So I think lore
5 years later, but okay.
But those directly followed each other. I think lore-wise, those are the 2 most important ones. And I think it would make sense for them to have Demise introduced. We show the results of his reincarnation in Breath of the Wild. That's where that ends. And then Demise is killed for the last time in this game. I think narratively speaking, with the order that they've released the games, doesn't matter. With the order that they've released the games, that makes the most sense.
But because more people played Breath of the Wild than played Skyward Sword.
That's fine, but they don't care about that.
I think they're looking at this as a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild that'll carry over plot elements and characters from that game. It might introduce a few more. I don't think we're going back to characters from old Zelda games that are not that old, but probably most of the people playing this game won't understand if they just show up and say they're the main villain.
Okay, well, I'd rather have that than Palpatine returns.
I know, that's
somehow.
Fine. That's fine. But you're probably, if this happens, if 10 of your friends buy this game, you will be the only one who knows who Demise is.
So? They don't care. People who are playing Zelda don't care
but if you think
who the guy you hit with the sword is. They just want to hit a guy with the sword.
If you think about the story of Breath of the Wild, it's incredibly simple. If you have zero familiarity with Zelda...
But it's only simple if you have zero familiarity with Zelda.
How is that the case?
Because if you know what the lore is, it's a lot more complicated.
But Breath of the Wild is very standalone. This is a sequel to Breath of the Wild. The expectation will be, you've played Breath of the Wild, the expectation will not be that you've played or are familiar with the storyline of the other Zelda games. Whether or not you know the references in the first Breath of the Wild, the people who have not played those games will not pick up on that.
The only one you have to have played for the story to make sense is the one that came out right before Breath of the Wild.
But that one, a lot of people didn't play.
But a lot more people have played it since the remake.
It's very different than Breath of the Wild. A lot of people didn't play it because of that.
But it is also out of all the Zeldas other than Breath of the Wild, it's the most similar to Breath of the Wild.
Maybe?
In terms of gameplay, in terms of combat, in terms of the stamina system, all that stuff is carried over from Skyward Sword.
You're looking at this as like them mapping out the story. I'm looking at it I think the way they look at it as each one of these games is essentially on its own.
Then why would they make a sequel?
Okay, but think about how little lore actually carries over from game to game unless they are asset reusing sequels.
But the lore is only so scantily carried over because the lore wasn't established until the game right before Breath of the Wild. And the one that directly followed the game that established the lore is the only one that expands on the lore.
How does it expand on the lore?
The whole Ganon can't reincarnate thing, the whole them going to the whole Zelda can't access her power that her mother gave to her. All of that stuff only happens in Breath of the Wild because all that lore was only established right before Breath of the Wild.
I just don't think they will introduce a
And
new
where
main
is
antagonist.
where is Demise sealed?
I don't know.
Right under Hyrule Castle.
I guess. I don't.
And where is Hyrule Castle right now?
In the air.
In the air. So who can now come out of the seal under the castle?
I don't feel like...
The guy who is under the castle.
Nintendo is known for the fact that their games have barely any story.
But that's because
just the idea that they would go back.
They didn't add a story until just before this game.
I know that. But it's been 6 years. This is a sequel to the highest selling Zelda game.
Just because it's been a long time doesn't mean they give up on storytelling.
The majority of the people who are playing this don't know anything about Zelda beyond Breath of the Wild, and that game doesn't mention demise at all. They have no. If that was,
but it mentions the reincarnation thing, which they also would have no idea what that even means.
That probably went over their head.
That's what I'm saying.
But that's a minor detail.
So if let's say hypothetically this guy is demise or some verge or some other villain,
yeah,
the general audience won't care who he is. They just need a guy to go kill.
I'm saying it's much more likely that it's a new character, so that it's brand new to the audience, than them going back to an older game that is a drastically different gameplay style. And yes, it was ported to the Switch, but it came out on a completely different system. And bring him in to this part of the Zelda timeline.
The reason why,
despite the fact that the audience would be very
idea
what's happening.
Feel more strongly about that specific thing being related to this one is just because those games came out right after each other, and because the lore was only established after Skyward Sword came out. If Skyward Sword came out, but they made 3 Zelda games that just kind of didn't do anything with it, and then they made this, I'd be like, yeah, this is probably some made-up guy. But because they introduced Demise as a character, they explained that reincarnation doesn't happen anymore in the next game that directly follows it, and then this guy shows up, now that the castle's being unsealed. I think just logic, even if that's not the case, that's why I think that it is.
Again, you're looking at it as if like there's a story that they're following. I have always thought that they were just making this up as they go along.
And they were, until Skyward Sword. That's the only game. It's the only one where they make any attempt to tie the games together.
But that one is also a prequel. So that was after 20, 30 years of just making stuff up.
Right.
And then they went back and tried to re-explain it. And obviously...
But that shows that they do want to tell a story.
Or at least they wanted there to be a story.
Yes, and because now they've given themselves an opportunity to tell a story that they clearly want to tell, or they wouldn't have done that at all. They could have just not done that.
Or they wanted to make a game that was essentially a Zelda prequel game, and that was the easiest way to do it.
But now that they have this set up, now that they can do it, I see no reason why they wouldn't.
I'm saying that the reason would be that people would be confused who Demise is.
But people didn't care when he was introduced in Skyward Sword. They figured it out.
I guess not. But that was also his first introduction.
So
I'm saying,
who's going to be... At what point are you more likely to be familiar with a character? At his first introduction or his second introduction?
I'm saying the idea that you would go back and bring in a character who was not in the game that this is a direct sequel to, from a completely different Zelda game that, as far as a lot of people don't even know that these games like existed at the same timeline. They have no idea how the Zelda timeline works.
But they didn't until that game came out. Like, that didn't matter until Skyward Sword came out. It was all made up after Skyward Sword.
But if they go back to that game and they pull a character in, a large portion of the audience will not know who they are, what they did, or how they affected the last game, unless they have to stop and explain all of it.
And because...
Which they never do.
The reason why I think that it's more likely now that we'll see... Because I feel like they will want to bring Demise back at some point. Because they have this big bad character essentially locked in a vault.
But the real
they
big bad
bring
is
back
Ganon,
at any
and
time.
it's always been Ganon. They always go back to Ganon.
Sort of, kind of, yeah. But that's not my point. My point is they have this guy locked away that they can use. That game was only one game in separation from this one. And that's also where the lore was made up. That's when they started caring about the story. Mm-hmm. So they started caring about the story at this point. They make a sequel that expands on the story of that game. Not really a sequel, but for all intents and purposes, a sequel. And then this is the conclusion to what I would see as the Demise story or whatever. Even if it's not him, this character has to be related to Ganon.
Think a weird ghost man is going to bring Ganon or reanimate his corpse.
Then why does he look like a corpse?
Why would the
corpse want to bring back a different corpse?
I don't know. I didn't say the ghost was a
my
corpse.
Point
I
is
just said there was a ghost.
This guy,
Maybe
whoever
the moon ghost,
whoever this guy is.
Well, But in order to so even if you do think Demise is a main villain, someone had to lift the big thing up so that he could unleash Demise.
That's true.
There's still a different bad guy.
And that would be Demise had like an assistant guy that like technically survives.
Okay, but you couldn't bring that in.
Okay,
Remember Demise's assistant who maybe survived?
Breath of the Wild has a very limited cast of characters.
Exactly, which is why I think it's more likely
Hang on.
that it's just Ganon again.
In Hyrule Warriors, they do introduce a Ganon assistant guy. Who's more interesting
But
to
Hyrule
you?
Warriors isn't canon.
Demise's like guy or the like dumb wizard guy?
Okay, but
with
they
the
also
lamp?
didn't make Hyrule Warriors is not canon to this universe.
It is kind of canon.
It's not
They've
really.
tried very hard to fit it
It
into the
literally
canon.
starts with a time travel.
Yeah, but you get the idea. You get what I'm saying.
What are we doing? What is going on?
All right, real quick,
Ghost
let me check something real
spooky
quick.
corpse canon. That's what's happening, by the way. I would bet actual money on it. It's spooky corpse canon.
Okay.
I don't know where the pause button is,
yes,
Sam.
let's go.
What,
No, I was
what are you, a
looking at
teacher
something else.
trying to
Okay.
use a projector?
I was looking at something else.
Look at that rad shoulder pad he's got.
Shit, pause. God dang it. Shit.
Does a big skydive.
Talk about things. Looks cool like that. Awesome. So we know it's a different guy than Ganon.
Wow.
Because Zelda knows Link can beat Ganon. He already did it. What's stronger than Ganon? There's one guy
Okay.
in all the lore
Sam.
who's stronger than Ganon. There's only one other guy.
I think you're thinking a little too much about this.
I think you're not thinking at all about
Sam,
this.
it's a weighty trailer line.
You get what I'm saying, though. Like,
That
there's got to be some.
Well, you're not going to put a line in the trailer where she goes, like, you've done this like 20 times, just do it again.
No, but like, in order to raise the stakes, which they have to, because it's a sequel.
Ganon's got more power,
have-
and he's bigger and badder, and he's doing big
But he already
space
reached
island.
his most big and bad form.
He reached his most big and bad form like 15 times before that.
No, but that's the only time where he goes like gargantuan city-sized destroyer
well, now
god
he's
mode.
going gargantuan countryside.
I think it
god
only
mode.
makes sense for them to. It's either Demise or some other demon from that family of demons. It's because otherwise it doesn't
Maybe.
make any sense.
Maybe. I'm betting
anyway.
money on Ganon again.
Here
I think you're
goes
going to disappoint
flying.
yourself building up these expectations.
I think
that
that
it'll be anything other than just a bigger, spookier Ganon.
even if it's bigger, spookier Ganon, like that's fine. Like I wouldn't be upset about it. I'm just saying I think they have an opportunity
Look at that
to do
bird.
something more interesting here.
A cool bird.
And I don't. Ooh, that's cool.
Pterodactyl?
Yeah,
oh,
so-
yeah, he's got the homing arrows. Those are neat.
And I think it's cool that. Anyway, yeah.
I just
We'll
want
finish
more
this
Breath
out
of
here.
the Wild.
That's cool. I like
he's doing
that.
rail grinding.
Yeah, he can make things now.
Oh,
He's
he's got a
shooting
torch that
cannonballs.
shoots
There's
lasers.
Zelda, and she looks different. She's wearing a different
He's got a
outfit.
robot arm. Zelda
He's
falls.
got a new clasp on his cape.
in
He's
lift.
got magnesis powers. Banjo-Kazooie, nuts and
He's
bolts.
literally just
time.
driving a car.
It's Banjo-Kazooie, nuts and bolts.
He's literally
It's
just...
except for it's
even
Zelda
got, like,
now.
headlights.
It's got wheels and headlights, and it's a car.
It's literally
and he's
just
driving
a car.
it, like, and he's got a
No,
hot air
he's got a
balloon.
hot air balloon.
And then he's got a
got a
hovercraft.
hovercraft.
Woo,
Look at that
yeah.
big score. Look, what do you think that
It
big
looks
sphere
cool.
is?
I think those are just the building blocks. that you-
Epona, you're gonna be like completely useless by the end of this game.
Yeah, but see, the sword's like cracked in half. Yeah, looks cool. I'm excited.
Tears of the King.
All right.
What's that? What's the big space moss? Oh, Zelda's gonna fall in a big pit again.
Yeah.
And that's why she'll be gone for the whole
He
game.
and his arms like screwed up.
Whoever's in the
Woo,
bottom
and
of
we
the
got a date. All right.
whoever's at the bottom of the castle has got her held in a big cage.
I gotta get home because I think Nick is waiting for me.
All
I
right.
came over to watch Last of Us. So
Well, that's thing, and I didn't get to share my funny news story.
all right,
Can I
that's
share
the
it real
Zelda.
quick?
Quickly go.
Okay, so Sam, do you remember the back rooms? You know what that is?
Yes, I'm
weird, creepy,
aware.
that dumb, creepy pasta.
It's getting a movie.
It's getting a movie,
Great.
and guess who's directing it?
Michael Boo.
So there's like it was like a creepypasta, and then a guy made like a series of YouTube videos where he like built his
And
own
there's like
lore.
a video game. Yeah.
Yeah. So the guy who did those is gonna direct
Dang
it,
it. Weird.
but his name is Kane Parsons.
Huh.
Sam, he's 17 years old. He's gonna direct the movie at 17 years old. The only thing is, they have to wait for him to get on to summer vacation before he can direct the film. and then they're gonna shoot over his summer vacation, and then he's gonna go back to high school.
Movies should not follow our film schedule for the same reasons we follow our film schedule. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
He's a kid.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching this episode. You can catch us at Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the other podcast places and YouTube. And that's all the places. And I stream on Twitch also.
And if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at McDon Media, Instagram at McDon Media as well. We'll be back next week for something.
For some stuff. Alrighty. Bye-bye. Where's the stop button?